4th, 2021 of the Township of Washington Township Council. Adequate notice of the meeting was given in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act by the Township Clerk to at least 2 newspapers on June 11th, 2021. And this notice has been posted on the Township Bulletin Board, electronic message board, WCTV on the Township website. Salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Do roll call.
Councilman Casio.
Here.
Councilman DeSena.
Here.
Councilwoman Morgan. Councilman Sears.
Here.
Council President Feeney.
Here. Let the record also reflect in attendance Mayor Peter Kawamori, Township Administrator Tovo, Township Attorney Ken Pollers, and Susan Mikowski, Township Clerk. Approval of minutes, none. Budget resolutions. Resolution number 21-255. Waiver the reading in full of the 2021 budget. I'll make a motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Do we want to have discussion?
Is this for the budget or just not to read the budget?
This is just to not read the budget.
Thank you.
No discussion? We all understand, obviously? Okay. Sue, roll call, please.
Councilman Casio.
Yes.
Councilman DeSena.
Yes.
Councilman Sears.
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Public hearing on the 2021 township budget at 7:30 p.m. as advertised. Motion to open public hearing on the 2021 municipal budget. I'll make a motion. May I have a second, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Please click on the link below to participate in the budget portion of the meeting only.
Yeah, this is not for public comment. This is just for the public hearing on the budget. This part. Okay, we have one hand raised.
Good evening. I believe it's going to be Mr. Ferrara, but I don't want to make that mistake again. So if you wouldn't mind unmuting and then stating your name and address for the record, please. Mr. Ferrara?
Yes.
Okay, good evening.
Can you hear me?
Yes, how are you?
William Ferrara, 2556 Cleveland Avenue. I had
Yes.
a few questions about the budget I wanted to ask. Is there any money in the budget for the town to take over the garbage collection would be one question. The second, are there any new employees, and if so, how many? And the third question I had has to do with a line item called the police outside billings.
Mr. Ferrara, I'm terribly sorry. Would you just repeat the last question, please?
Thank
The
you.
last question had, do you have any new employees that aren't in the existing prior year budget, in this budget, and how many are there? And then the next one has to do with the police outside billings, where for this year, you have $0 revenue budgeted. Last year, you had $100,000 budgeted, and you actually realized $266,000. So I'm wondering why you're not budgeting at least $100,000. On the group insurance, there's a notice posted from the Division of Community Affairs on the website, which indicates that the increase in the state health benefit plan is going to be 2.8% for this year. And that would be, from what I can see from last year's actual spending, an increase of about just under 20,000. And you've increased it approximately 74,000. So maybe you could explain why there's a difference there. And then the reserve for uncollected taxes, you have at 715,000, which is the same as last year. Last year and the year before, and I believe the previous 2 years, you collected more than 99% of the taxes. Last year was 99.2.4%. You're reserving at 98.24%. Since the total amount of taxes is in excess of $40 million when you add in the school board, the county, and the town, that 1% difference equals $400,000 in additional taxes we're collecting. We don't, I think I think you're being overly conservative, to say the least, on that particular one. Then on the police line, the salaries and wages line, compared to the annual spending from last year, according to the budget document, is up over 11%. And I think that's after the chief gave up the $50,000. And I know he did talk about adding in an office, additional officer later on in the year, but I don't think anybody ever asked him how much was that going to cost. So I don't know how it could go up 11%. And then I had a question about the expenditure without appropriation for $10,000. Was that $10,000 the amount of money that was paid to the audit firm to do the forensic audit that was canceled? And then I just had a comment on the fire hydrant money. We're paying $150,000 a year to Suez Water to maintain the fire department, the fire hydrants. Does the fire department ever get involved in inspecting those things? No. Okay, Tom, thank you. I'm just specifically talking about one fire hydrant. It's the fire hydrant on the north side of Ridgewood Road in front of the Seven Chimneys. It is rusty. You can drive past it every day. I mean, it looks like it's from the Dark Ages, and it really should be replaced. And if we're going to pay them $150,000, I think we should at least get decent fire hydrants. And then the last thing I wanted to speak of, so I don't have to get back on again. I mean, last Monday night, you approved $12 million plus in additional bans and bonds for various projects. And I pointed out Monday that one of those bonds was for projects you're never going to do. You're not going to extend the bays at the firehouse and put in an exhaust system at the existing firehouse. That was close to $1 million of that number. And the rest of it is for the first approval for the DPW building, and that was replaced by another approval. So I don't know why you would fund bans and bonds for projects that are close to at least $1 million, if not
Mr. Farrar, two
that
things.
should be,
Mr.
you know,
Farrar,
that you're never going to do. So maybe you can answer those questions for me. And that's it. I think Sue's going to kick me off anyway, but thank you.
Yeah, plus that's not part of the budget. That's something different.
Wait, I can't hear. I can't hear.
Bans of the bonds was from the other evening. That's not part of the budget itself. So that part, you know, I'll put it down, but you know, it's not part of the budget.
Well, I
Just part
understand
of the
that.
budget
I just didn't want to call back
I know.
again because that's the
But
that's
you
the
could,
total.
we'd answer.
Okay. You can answer the next time.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Farrar. Have a good evening.
Thank you. Same to you. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else for the budget portion of the meeting?
We have a Ms. Gatto that's got her hand up.
Right, this section right now is just for the budget portion, just to let everybody know. Mrs. Gatto, do you have a comment regarding the budget?
I'm actually unsure what part of the meeting the pool can be discussed, so I don't want to miss the opportunity.
So
I
it'll
just
be in
wanted to say-
we're gonna have additional discussion and a vote, and then we're gonna do a couple more items and vote, and then that's on the general discussion
Okay,
session.
so not now.
No,
Okay, thank you. I'll
you're
wait.
very welcome. So just hang out if you don't mind.
Okay, sure.
Okay, with that being said, motion to close public comment portion of the meeting?
So moved.
Or, I'm sorry, budget discussion, public comment, sorry, just to be clear.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
Second.
all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Daisy, could you just please read that comment above the closed public hearing so people know? About the copy of the budget,
Right
right above the motion to close the public hearing?
above
Please
the
note.
motion. Okay,
Please
sorry.
note, please,
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
thank you.
Please note that a copy of the 2021 municipal budget was posted on the township website on June 2nd, as noted in the advertisement placed in the Bergen Record and available by contacting the township clerk during normal business hours.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Sorry, Sue, I missed that comment.
No worries. A lot of words there tonight.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. 2021 budget adoption. Resolution number 21-256, adoption of the 2021 municipal budget. May I have a motion?
So move.
I'll second. Do we want to have discussion, please?
Yes.
I do want to, since we're having discussion, I wanted to know that it would be appropriate to have Mr. Ferraro's questions answered. The
That's why I
mayor,
was going to answer Mr. Farrar's questions, yeah.
so Mr. Mayor or Mr. Chovo or Mr. Poller, who would like to go first?
I'd be happy to go first.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chovo.
I believe Mr. Vinci should be on the line as well for a few of those questions.
Hold on,
sorry,
wait.
Clerk.
Oh, there he is. Sue, can you move Ms. Gatto out to panelist, please? I don't see Mr. Vinci unless he's,
It was here.
oh, here, wait, let's, could somebody, does anybody have his number to give him a call?
He said he calls in. Gary, you on the phone? You on the?
Wait,
meeting?
hold on, I think,
This might be him. I don't know. Shall we
Mr.
try?
Gary, you're muted, I think.
there you go.
Okay,
Hi.
okay.
I am
All
on.
right, perfect.
Hey, Gary, I just got a text. What's the call-in number? Somebody just told me that it's not working.
Okay, the call-in number for the meeting is by telephone. Hold on, wait 1 second.
I have a few of them.
I know, I don't know which one's which, to be honest with you. Okay.
I think you can dial in on any one of them, though.
Okay, let's see if I can get this. Switch to phone audio.
Can Mr. Vinci answer the question while we're waiting for the call-in number?
Yeah, could you just wait 1 second, please, Councilman DeSena? Thank you. Because I want to announce it over the TV in case anybody wants to call in. Okay, this is part of the meeting. Sue, you think it's the first number?
I think we should try the first number.
That usually works.
I never want to delete these because I don't know if one won't work or another.
Do
So
you
if
want to
I-
read it to the public, please?
All right, so we will try 1-929-205-6099.
Okay, all right. Mr. Vinci, if did you hear all the questions or do you need them repeated? Or Mr.
No,
Chobo?
I did hear the questions. I could probably answer a few of the questions.
Okay,
Gary, if you don't mind, I'll
the-
go first. There's only a couple for you, I think.
Sure, go ahead.
Thank you. Garbage collection, the intention is that we're currently putting the final touches on a bid package to go out for garbage collection. If numbers are favorable, we would intend to start that in 2022. New employees this year, there's been some replacement employees and change in a role for one employee, which incurred more salary to that person, but all the moves here were all budget neutral. I will defer to LVH on the police outside detail. That was a recommendation from them. Medical expenses were increased by the amount 2.8 that was recommended by, or we were advised of by the carrier, but not having it in front of me, I can't answer that question any further for Mr. Ferraro. The RUT number, also I'll defer to Mr. Vinci. Police budget would be up 11 due to the desire for the increased personnel, which is an item still up in the air, as well as contractual obligations. The expenditure of that appropriation were funds paid to LVH to assist the township last year in the absence of our CFO for half the year. The auditor at the time was advised we were doing that, voiced no opposition, but then made a comment in the audit. I believe that answers the questions that I can answer for Mr. Ferraro.
All right, I will follow up then. The police outside duty. There were excess monies transferred from the trust fund to current. So the trust reserve at the end of the year actually has been depleted to only $29,000. And as a result, there's minimal revenue available that the current fund can anticipate. If you went back a year ago, the gentleman was correct. The council's budget did have a revenue, I think, of $100,000. The reserve fund collected is a statutory calculation, and we, in very few municipalities, anticipate the collection rate that they do realize. So if you do anticipate a collection rate of, say, 98%, and you collect 99, that 1% differential goes into your surplus. And I think if you look at your budget, typically the surplus from the prior year, you are applying at least 45 to 50% of that surplus to balance the budget. So although you're conservative with the tax collection rate, you are providing that back in the following year's budget as surplus anticipated.
Hey, Sue, I got Desiree online.
No, she's on. Tom, she's on. We got her on.
You unmuted her?
Yeah, we got her. She's on. Desiree,
Okay.
you're there?
She's still muted.
Well, she has to unmute herself.
Does she know how to do that?
Okay, so unmute Desiree.
Press star
Hit
9.
hit star 9.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we're
Yeah.
good.
Can
Thank
you
you.
hear me?
Yes.
Oh.
Welcome, Desiree.
Okay, great.
Oh,
Okay.
my goodness. Thank
Mr.
you.
Vinci, so for the is that a percentage that we're required to reserve for?
No, but most municipalities will provide a cushion with collection rates. So very, very few municipalities will anticipate the prior year collection rate. And the reason being is that you are using surplus to balance the budget. And the key to utilization of surplus is the ability to replenish the surplus. So excess tax collections is one of the sources that provides replenishment to surplus.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Mayor, any additional?
No, I think between Administrator Tovo and the auditor, Mr. Vinci, they covered everything that I can think of that Mr. Farrar asked.
All right, moving on, Councilman Casio, any comments regarding the budget?
Yeah, I'll just make a general comment. I think that the budget itself was initially sent to us a little on the bloated side. And I think all said and done, it is still a little bit on the bloated side. So, I'm not really happy with the process or the progression of the budget in the township at this point. And I think maybe next year we can do a lot better trimming a lot of the fat off, because this year there was very little trimming when you look at the percentages of it in certain areas. So again, I'm a little disappointed with it. So those are my general comments regarding this year's budget for 2021.
Councilman DeSena.
Mr. Ferraro, thank you for your comments. If you reach out to me, I have a list of the new employees that were added this year on a table I could share with you. That will increase the benefit percentage of the budget because of those new employees. The police line was questioned during the budget hearing. So I have some notes on that also I could share with you, Mr. Ferraro. I'm not happy about the budget. That's why I voted no for its introduction last month. I think it's too high. We should have done more to keep it lower. We're eating up our surplus, and we can't keep depending on that surplus to be there. Thank you, Mrs. Sweeney.
Thank you. Councilman Sears.
I came in late with most of the budget, but it looks like there was a lot put into it. It seems to have been gone over with a good comb. There's always a need for money, and right now, I think we will be stable for 2021, 2022. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Sears. And Vice President Morgan?
Yeah, I just want to say that I think that we went over each line, line by line, by tedious line, meticulously. So we were able to trim it where we could, but we still have services to provide, and things cost money. So we're trying to be responsible with the spending. I think we did a fantastic job. I obviously, like everyone else, I'd like to see the budget get done sooner, but things happen. And we were still navigating, what we were navigating still. So I think we did a good job. I'm pleased with the budget. I think we got a lot out of it for, big bang for our buck. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Morgan. I want to say I do agree the budget process does take long in Township. I believe that we could definitely move to a better process in order to expedite the budget adoption. I do think we did go over the budget with a fine-tooth comb, and we definitely did make some cuts. But in order for a town to maintain its infrastructure, unfortunately, with the cost of living, the budget, is what it is. And we have great departments, the police department, the fire department, the rec department, library that we need to support. And it's important that we do so in order to provide those services to our residents. So the only thing I would like to see next year, again, is a change in the process that we currently have, and not a line by line review, maybe more of a department review overall would be my recommendation. So, Mr. Mayor, or would you like to make a comment regarding the budget?
Yes, I would. Thank you. I'm proud that for the second year in a row, we were able to offer COVID relief to our residents, having a healthy surplus that we were able to use $300,000 extra in both years. So the surplus is a little low, but I'm hoping this will be the last year for that. COVID seems to be taking a good direction. I hope that stays. So I'm hoping we can start to build the surplus back up. I'm also proud that we were able to lower the rate from last year. It's either $14 or $16 that it went down per household. So I think me working with the council, it's a very good budget. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Power, I'm assuming you don't have any comments?
No comment.
Okay. Sue, roll call, please.
Councilman Calcio,
No.
Councilman DeSena,
No.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes. Resolution number 21-257, self-examination 2021 municipal budget. I'll make a motion. May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
We need to have discussion. Sue, roll call, please.
Councilman Calcio,
Yes.
Councilman DeSena,
Yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yes.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes,
Lacey, may I just ask Ken a quick question?
of course.
Ken, just want to verify more for the public. I think I have it right with the 3 votes, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And what happens if we didn't do it?
Well, it doesn't matter. We don't need to talk about it.
Talk about it next
Discussion
meeting.
for a different day.
Okay, we'll do that a different day. That's fine. The following items have been determined to have the unanimous consent of council and will be enacted in one motion. Should any item require independent consideration, any council member may have such item removed from the consent agenda. Would anybody like to have any of the below resolutions removed for discussion?
No.
Resolution number, sorry. We're good? We're good, right?
Okay.
Okay, just making sure. Resolution number 21-258, authorized filing of club license for Washington Township Recreation Club into history. Resolution number 21-259, authorized renewal of plenary retail consumption license RJC and S Corporation TA South Place year 2013 through 2014. Resolution number 21-260, authorized renewal of plenary retail consumption license RJC and S Corporation TA Sal's Place years 2014, 2015. Resolution number 21-261, authorized renewal of plenary retail consumption license RJC and S Corporation Sal's Place year 2015 through 2016. Resolution number 21-263, authorized renewal of plenary retail consumption license RJC S Corporation Sal's Place year 2017, 2018. Resolution number 21-264, authorized renewal of plenary retail consumption license RJC and S Corporation Sal's Place year 2018, 2019. Resolution number 21-265, authorized renewal of plenary retail consumption license RJC S Corporation Sal's Place year 2019 through 2020. Resolution number 21-266, authorized renewal of plenary retail consumption license RJC Sal's Place S Corporation South Place year 2020 through 2021. Resolution number 21-267, authorized renewal of plenary retail consumption license RJC S Corporation South Place year 2021 through 2022. Motion to approve consent agenda resolutions.
So moved.
I'll motion.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry. General public comment portion of the meeting. Oh, wait, I'm sorry.
You're right. You're good.
I'm good, right?
Yes.
Okay. This will be general public comment. All comments are now welcome since the budget portion already happened. To participate in the general public comment portion of the meeting, please click on the link below to join the webinar by phone. Join the webinar by phone. *9 to raise your hand, *6 to unmute. You will be asked to state your name and address for the record, and we ask that only one person speak at a time. There is a 5-minute limit per caller. Please note that this is public comment, and comments by the council, mayor, or administrator will be at the end of the public comment section. At the end, no more calls will be accepted. Okay. If you'd like to speak regarding any matter now, you may, just to be clear. Okay.
Motion to open?
Oh, sorry. Motion to open public comment.
So moved.
I'll
Second.
second. All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, first up is Lynn P. If you would please unmute your microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Sure, it's Lynn Pistono, 631 Washington Avenue. Good evening.
How are you?
I'm well, and yourself?
Good, thank you.
Good. I am speaking again with regards to the emergency services building. Number one, at the 6/21/21 meeting, Mr. Ullman stated a water runoff study was conducted, and perhaps a new study can be done again with the neighbors now that the enormity of this building is coming to fruition. He also said if hindsight was 20/20, to me, that sounds to me he regrets his decision and he sees the devastation this monster of a building is creating. Number two, at the same meeting, Mr. Dorso said he was for capital improvements. Well, so am I. If this building was conforming to the neighborhood, this doesn't look like a 2-story building to me. The powers that be knew the impact this would have on the neighborhood, and they chose not to be good neighbors. Why did they purposely elect not to send certified letters to all homeowners within 200 feet of under the guise of being exempt? They slid this monstrosity in. There are plenty of designs that would have made a positive impact and enhanced the neighborhood. This does the total opposite. It's ruined the saleable value of our homes and quite honestly looks horrendous. Our homes will now sell for under property value, so will our surrounding neighbors. What's the impact on the rest of the town going to be? I guess Mr. Dorso, since you don't need to look out your windows to see this daily, it's okay. Just like everyone else, it's a great idea. I'm glad it's just not in my neighborhood. Am I correct? Number 3, I am also questioning if the fire trucks, especially the hook and ladder, will have enough room to back into the bays. The new building sits much closer to the road. Who is going to cover the property damage to the house directly in front of the bays when these trucks jump the curb? Again, we support our police and volunteers very much, and we thank them all for their service. Thank you very much.
You, Mrs. Pistono, have a good evening.
You too.
Mr. Mahoney, good evening.
Good evening. I'm going to keep this really short because I've got a lot going on. Sean Mahoney, 235 West Place. I'm just calling up for support of buying the swim club. Got a lot of stuff going on, so thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mahoney. Have a good evening. Sue, I can't,
You can't.
I don't know why. I can't.
I don't know, but that's okay. Let me get my cursor over here.
Hello?
Yes, Mrs. Fernasian, how are you?
It's Fenargian.
I'm sorry.
good. It's
I
fine.
apologize. I apologize. I'm very sorry.
It's okay. It's a married name. It took me a while too. Yes, I'm calling in support of purchasing the swim club for the town.
Excuse me?
Yes,
Mrs.
yes.
Could you speak, state your address, please, for the record?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Irene Fenargian, 446 Hoover Avenue in Township.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm calling in support of the town obtaining the swim club. I'm in support of the renovations that need to go there. I think it would be an asset to the town. It's the community here, the children, future children. But I would like to maybe point out that if the council during special meetings could keep in mind that maybe the last day of school is not the best day to have a meeting for future consideration. Just saying.
That's a good point. Yes.
Thank you. That's all I wanted. I just wanted to support the pool. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, Mrs. Fernargian. And I will not forget now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, we have 20140. Is that 40? Oh no, I'm sorry.
4208.
Yeah, that's you, right?
That's right, right?
201, sorry, 201-664-3995.
Perfect. Stacy, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, guys. This is Joseph Scalia, 813 Ridgewood Boulevard East.
Hi, Mr. Scalia. How are you?
Good. Hope everyone's doing well.
Good,
I wanted to call on two topics. The first topic is the pool. I was a member. I am a bonded member, and I was also part of the board a couple of years ago. At the last meeting on Monday, there was a lot of discussion around utilization of the pool. First of all, the field below can be utilized for sporting activities. It will need some work. It may need to remove some trees, and there is a storage shed that probably will need to be removed, but it can be utilized for sporting events and recreational activities. I spent many summers playing basketball with my son and utilizing that field at the lower level. In regards to the overall pool itself, it does need significant work, right? The restrooms, the pool itself needs significant work. But I want to look at this as two different aspects. One is the utilization of a pool, and the second is the utilization of the land. And regardless of what happens with the pool itself, the land purchase for the price that it's being offered for is a significant opportunity for the council. Even if the pool does not exist 3-5 years from now, it's on our terms what we do with that property. We cannot have a builder come in, because realistically, you cannot put 5 homes and make it financially feasible for a builder to come in and pay $1 million or $2 million for the property, build 5 homes. There's no way it's financially feasible for a builder to do this. They will come in and put high density homes in this area, even if they have to wait several years in 2025 to do this. And this also goes for the property at 450. We are being very consistent. The members of really keeping the development down in town, we want to preserve land. And many of you criticized the previous administrations for not acting on 450. And now we're sitting in the same situation where we may not act on this property. So I would ask you to look at previous administrations and what they may have or didn't do. We have an opportunity in front of us to preserve and to have our own terms on what we do with this property, regardless of a pool or not. The land is extremely valuable for the town, for the recreation department. Ms. DeSena is one of the biggest advocates in this town with Ms. Morgan in regards to sporting events, baseball, and we don't have enough facilities in this town. We're fighting for space for our teams. We're paying additional dollars to Westwood for us to go utilize their territories and their fields. This is an opportunity for us to build for the future. And for the first time, the administration is looking for the future. And we're saying no for $800 or $1 million that's bonded over 20 years for $20. So I'm really asking the board to reevaluate this. I would ask Mr. DeSena, Mr. Cassio to reevaluate. This is a small price to protect our future. And regardless of the pool itself, the land should be preserved for future opportunities for our town, our community, regardless of what we need to do, and once again, for the pool. So I want to thank you, and also I hope that the potential acquisition of the pool property and does not compete with 450 Pascack, because both of these properties need to be acquired by the town in order for us to plan for the future and really plan for expansion as we grow this town properly by not including high density homes in these areas. So thank you, and always thank you for all you guys are doing to support the town.
Thank you, Mr. Scalia. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Beekman. Would you please unmute your mic?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Could you please state your name and address for the record, and how are you this evening?
Good. Brian Beekman, 638 Washington Avenue, Washington Township. And good evening, Mayor, council members. I just want to address my concerns about the emergency services building. I think that there's been a lot of issues with it. One is, I think there's been a lack of transparency with the neighborhood and planning and allowing us to know what was going to happen before it happened. The first time that I had any idea that this was going in is when they showed up and started cutting trees down. I live right next door to them. Now, I don't have a problem with it. I understand that this is probably the best place you could build the services building. You already got one here, so for functionality, it works well there, and you're going to have to build something next door while you keep the one in operation. But I just think that we could have been let the neighborhood know what was going on, have some views of the plans, and had more of a say in it. I think there's a lot of things with this building that were unnecessary. One is the size. I can't see why it had to be that tall. It is very close to the street. I think that's going to cause problems. I also have concerns with the possibly, water retention in the land around it. I've never had any issues with any flooding in my house. I'll have to see what happens. But I do know that road outside gets very, very bad in winter. There's streams always coming down. And I think it may be a safety issue. And I'm just giving you a precursor of possibly them looking into detail to prevent that. So I'm not sure what could be done at this point, but I'm just been very unhappy. And quite honestly, from most of the input of the neighbors, I think they feel the same way, that we could have been involved in this way before. No one ever contacted me about this. Supposedly we heard that there was supposed to be some notification sent out. We never got anything. The first time I heard about it is when they came and they showed up and started cutting down trees. So I'm sure we'll participate more in this. I'm not sure it could be done now, but I'd like to at least address these things and minimize the damage. I'm sure if any of you live next door to this house, this emergency services building, you would probably feel the same way. So I'm just going on record as saying this, and I'd like to do the town to fix some bad situation and try to make it better. I don't see why there can't be a compromise between allowing giving the fire department what they need to do to service the town, and also keeping the value of the homes and just the functionality of the roads and the neighborhood the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beacon. I hope you have a good evening. Okay, next up is 201-575-6736. If you would please unmute your microphone. Yes, good evening.
Good afternoon.
Would you state your name and address for the record?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. This is Fred Mahudi, reside at 649 Washington Avenue. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. I am also calling regarding the emergency service that is being built directly across the street from my house. It seems like I'm not the only one in this boat here because, again, I have significant concerns regarding this building that's going to cross the street from my property. It has truly devalued the value of my land. I was never notified about this building. No letter of anything was sent to my house saying that this property was being built in front of my house. It seems like there was supposed to be something sent to all the residents 200 feet within this building, and unfortunately, I never received any letters. The first time that I found out this building was being built was when an insurance company called me saying that they're going to show up and take some pictures of the foundation of my house just to make sure when the pilers go down, if there's any damage to the structure, for the insurance company to cover it. And I started questioning, and I'm like, what is going on, and what is the purpose of this? So that's the way I was notified. Secondly, regarding the closeness of this building being to the road, I'm actually very concerned that as the fire trucks start pulling out of this emergency service building, they're going to end up on my property. Look, I am very concerned. The new building that's being built is much closer to the road. The trucks are going to get bigger because, apparently there's a new truck that I've been ordered. And the reason for the new building is so that the bigger trucks can fit in them. And I am very concerned. I mean, as the trucks currently pulling into the street, it is already they get very close to the sidewalks to begin with. My third concern is regarding the water retention. The pitch of the roof of this building is so steep that I'm really concerned where all of the water is going to end up being. The pitch is directly coming into right in front of my footsteps. And I'm concerned whether or not any thought has been given as far as the water retention and how any of the amount of water that this roof of this building is going to collect is going to be taken care of. And also the height of the building. I mean, I'm going back and looking at some of the meeting notes of July 15, 2019. There were comments and concerns regarding the height of this building, regarding the peak, regarding the top of the cupola. And the meeting minutes states that there are concerns regarding the height. And I'm looking at this building, and it is a lot higher than what the initial plan proposals were made, and the drawings that I'm looking at that were made public, that were made available to the public. So I'm not sure if the current height is being taken into consideration, if what the zoning is and whatnot. But this building is significantly higher, significantly bigger than what the original plans had shown. And lastly, my concern is regarding the 5-feet LED signs that are supposed to be going in front of the EMS and the fire department building. I mean, you're talking about this 5-foot sign directly shining into my bedroom and my 6-month-old daughter's bedroom. And this thing is supposed to be blinking all night. I mean, I don't understand the reason for that. I am very concerned. And I hope that this council really takes into consideration what this building is really doing to the value of the homes around it and the quality of life of the residents that live near this new emergency service center building that's being built. I hope I didn't talk too quickly. I was trying to keep everything within under 5 minutes. Thank you so much for your time, and I really hope this council takes some of my comments under consideration.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Macer. Would you unmute your microphone, please?
Good evening.
How are you
Sean,
this evening?
I'm sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes. How are you this evening?
Good. Thank you. Sean Macer, 426 Calvin Street. I just wanted to speak in support of the acquisition of the swim club property. Just from two perspectives. One, as a resident of this town, the development of that property, whether it be by 6 homes or, which we all know, and there's no reason that we should pretend that it won't be 6 homes, it'll be condominiums or townhouses that go on that property, is just going to be detrimental to this wonderful town that I moved into. It's going to flood the school systems with more children. It's going to cause the budgets to go up as we have to pay for these additional children to be educated here. And it's going to cause unnecessary traffic in an otherwise quiet, lovely neighborhood that's down there. The other thing is, as a licensed real estate agent here in New Jersey, you're not going to get a better deal on 6 acres of property anywhere in northern New Jersey. This is a great deal. It's a great investment for the town. And those fields that are behind are suitable to be used for the sporting or for the sports teams in this town, which we desperately need at least one additional field in this town. So I just don't see how anybody could vote against it. And that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Macer. Have a good evening. Tardos, Mr. Tardos?
Tadros, Georgis Tadros.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very sorry if I'm apologies. What can we do for you this evening, Mr.
That's
Tardos?
okay.
Just state your name and address for the record, and then the floor is yours.
I'm calling also to support the swim club, Georgis Tadros, 456 Park Place, Washington Township. I'm also calling to support the swim club in the town. Been in town only for 2 years, and I see how much my kids need it, and I think it will be a great addition. I'm also a developer and a real estate agent, and I think it's a great price for the money. So it will be a great addition. Unless if there is a really good reason not to buy it, I think we should go ahead and buy it. That's it.
Anything else, Mr. Tadros?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for calling in. Have a good evening. Mr. Zachary?
Joseph Zachary, can you hear me?
Yes, thank you very much. How are you this evening?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Joseph Zachary, 15 Fairfield Court. The reason I moved to this town is seeing all the trees and everything that you drive by, instead of moving to Lower Bergen County where you just see all homes without trees. So I'm calling about the swim property. I really believe, regardless if there's a pool or not there, just the way it is good for a community. You could enhance the pool. You could fix the buildings. Worst case is you buy it and you realize in 2 years that it's going to cost too much. It's on our terms, and you're not going to get another chance of buying 6 acres. Once something's bought, it's going to be built up into a bunch of subdivided lands. Even if it's built up into homes, you're not going to acquire 6 acres ever again in this town. So I really recommend, it's $800,000. which is a drop in the bucket, especially if it's bonded for 20 years. Buy it, see what happens, vote yes, don't regret it, because you won't get this chance again. It's better to scoop it up now and then decide what you're going to do and make your decisions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zachary. Is there anything else we can do for you this evening?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Have a good evening. Good evening, Mr. Conti.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, how are you this evening?
I'm very good. Thank you. My name's Anthony Conti. I'm at 490 Ridgewood Boulevard North. I have two things that I basically want to touch on. Number one, at last week's meeting, I did not in any way, shape, or form insult Mr. Sears, and I'm sorry if he took it that way. I have folds of honor in my home from a family member who has passed away and served in the military, and I have no problem with anyone in the military ever and what they receive, number one. Number two, the swim club. I could see a lot of people are misinformed, and that's fine. That's the mayor and his three yes people out there saying, call in, call in, call in. They want this property. Well, I'll tell you, I got a problem. And I got my biggest problem is when you said you would never, and back in the April meeting when Mr. DeSena and Mr. Cassio weren't there, and you said that you would not put trucks down at the swim club. Then you come back at the last meeting and you say, well, we might park some trucks down at the swim club. Well, I have a question for you. Why is it when you were going to put trucks down on Sherry Field, it would be a detriment to the people that live near Sherry Field? But when you want to put it on Ridgewood Boulevard North, Ridgewood Boulevard East, Park Place, West Place, and all these homes, all these Adams Place, and all these homes that surround it. I mean, if you really want to see a community, you come walk Ridgewood Boulevard North and you see how many people walk down Ridgewood Boulevard North, kids on their bicycles, families, women with strollers. And now you want to put DPW trucks there? It's absolutely 100% wrong. You shouldn't be doing it. You shouldn't be buying it. It's a loser. We've used it before. They tried to put a rec center there once. The kids were so out of control that they had to stop it. They couldn't control it. It's a mistake. The building needs to be leveled. That building needs to come down. Oh, you got these real estate people calling up saying, oh, you'll never get, there's another parcel of land in town, 6 acres. Somebody lives on it, but there's another parcel of land. You're only going to get it for $600,000. Are you kidding me? You $600,000, you're not even going to be able to pay back the people that have the bonds. You won't be able to pay. And the mayor said in the last meeting, well, that's not my problem if you can't pay back the people that have outstanding bonds. That's the swim club's problem. Well, no, Mr. Mayor, that's everybody's problem. You can't just bully people and take what you want. Now, I was told you shouldn't call people names, and I'm very insulted that Mr. Seals called me ignorant more than 3 times. That was out of line. And then Mrs. Morgan comes on and she says, oh, thank you for your service, Mr. Sears. Well, thank you for your service, Mr. Sears. I appreciate it. But my point was, you have absolutely no skin in the game. You could raise taxes, you can buy property, you can do whatever you want, and it doesn't affect you at all in any way, shape, or form. You want to save the canopy and the trees? That's fine. Save it. You want to buy 450 Pascack Road because you want to save the canopies? That's fine. But when you want to buy the swim club and you want to make it a DPW parking lot for God knows what reason, I am absolutely against it. Look, I lived there when there was not DPW, but when they were parking trailers and dumpsters and trash back there. You had one guy picking up, when they had the horsey farm, you had a guy picking up the manure from the horsey farm and dumping it in the back. Did you even know that, Mr. Mayor? Did you even care at that point, Mr. Mayor? No, I had to get involved. And then I got people from the swim club calling me and telling me that I'm a turncoat or I'm a traitor or whatever the hell they called me. They were calling me all kinds of names. They were dumping horse manure in the back and nobody cared. I had to get involved and I had to do something. Now, you want to talk about something else? Look at the firehouse. You guys built that firehouse. Do we need a firehouse? Yes, we needed a firehouse. Did we need that firehouse? Absolutely not. That firehouse is too big. It's on the road. It's dangerous. You're going to have flashing lights in people's homes. You've made a mistake. You've shown your judgment with the firehouse. Now you're going to do the same thing at the swim club. Absolutely, positively no. Mr. Cassio and Mr. DeSena, thank you for that no vote. I appreciate it. I will support you in any way, shape, or form that I can. And again, with Mrs. Morgan saying I strong-armed her. Well, what does she think she's doing with this meeting? She thinks she's not.
You have 40 seconds left.
She thinks she's not strong-arming you guys by having all their friends and families call. Ask those people if they're members of the swim club. Ask those people if they've been down at the swim club. Ask them if they've walked it. Ask them if they know about the leak, that the water is just pouring out of the pool, that they have to keep a hose going to keep it full. I'm going to stop now because I'm just getting myself worked up. You guys have a wonderful evening, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Conte. I hope you have a good evening.
You too.
It says Big Joe.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This is Joe Durso, 12
Sorry.
Viola Terrace.
Sorry, it's just, I don't want to.
No, it's my fault because I don't use Zoom that often. And
No, it's okay.
That's the name my son or my daughter put on there, but
No, it's fine. It's fine.
apologies for that.
I don't want to insult anybody. I don't want to insult anybody either. But it is the name. So I just want to.
Yeah, it's absolutely, you're 100% right. It is. That's what it says. And anyway, Joe Durso, 12 Viola Terrace. My concern, well, I'm just curious. There was a vote the other night, and I'm not sure. This was a special meeting, I guess, to pass the budget or vote on the budget. I was just curious why this is back on the agenda tonight. I see that the three initials who wanted it, Council President Tom Sears and Councilwoman Morgan. I was just curious, why is it back on for discussion? If it was already voted no, this is in reference to the swim club. And the other thing, I do watch the meetings and I do listen and I do go back. I'm just curious, after the tornado warning, our town attorney, he went in the basement, the bunker for protection, but then he came back, which is great. I'm glad everybody was safe. I did too. Felt bad for the clerk. She was left in the building all by herself, but that's besides the point. The meeting still carried on. But my point is, if I understood the attorney, who's not really a financial guy, he's our lawyer. Why was he saying that he could possibly move forward or get this without bonding, or you don't need the votes? It was said towards the very end of the meeting, and I was just curious, why does the township attorney need to be involved in the council's decision when it really isn't about law or anything else? You voted. It was, you needed 4. It didn't happen. Why go another angle? And again, why go another angle tonight? It's just, it was done. It's over with. We've been down this road. You move on to something else now. I understand your point. It's a good parcel of land. Maybe it could be a lot of expense that goes on with that land. And, for years, I was there where you were. I always said it got ignored because I guess I'm not part of the, that group, or, as I call it, the old regime. You have a club. They're not out of business yet, and a couple of the residents called in. You can use the fields. I always said, go in partnership. And I said it the other night, you should have did a mutual agreement with the swim club. Keep them alive. Let the town fund them the money. Fix the land down there with them. Let the town put some money in there. Use the field March, April, May, like I said, for lacrosse or maybe football or something else. Don't use it in the summer. Use it for football, September, October, November, and give the swim club some money to survive. I mean, people seem to like the swim club. No one's ever ran with that idea. And now, all right, now you're running with it. You want to buy it. And It was already voted no on. So that's, I mean, I don't want to come off as I'm upsetting people. I have my own opinion like everybody else does. You might not agree with me. I don't take offense if you guys get mad at me, like Councilwoman Morgan. She gets mad at me. She seems like, she calls me ignorant. I don't think I'm ignorant. I'm just not her friend where she can, I don't support things that she supports. And, I asked some questions the other night, and thank you, Mayor Calamari. You answered all my questions, and they were addressed to you. I didn't need Councilwoman Morgan come to your defense. You answered every one of my questions, and I appreciate it. And again, you and I, maybe we don't see eye to eye. I don't like what you did, but you did give me your answer. You caught all your salaries up to where you said they're supposed to be. And that's fine. Nobody likes to talk about those salary subjects because they seem retribution will come towards them. But we all live in this town. We are all neighbors. Some of us are friends. Some of us dislike each other. But we all need to work together. And with the parcels of land, yes, Mr. Conti said, yeah, there is a huge parcel of land somewhere in this town. It's not fair to the person who owns it to bring it up. You also have Kennedy Park and Lincoln Park, which you guys pretty much ignore. The property behind where Viviano property is going to get developed, that's another sour subject. And one of the residents says, don't buy the swim club because you're going to have overdevelopment. Well, you're going to have 78 homes at Viviano. It's already causing problems with the school system and emergency service. You got the property over by Franklin Courts, by Fillmore. It's going to be another 40 homes. That's going to have an effect on us. So, stop.
35 seconds, Mr. Durso.
Let's just stop with that. There are other parcels of land that you could use. This may be a missed opportunity to some of you, but it was voted no already, and I appreciate it. And let's move on to something else. We've got a lot of other things to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Durso. Have a good evening.
You too.
Good evening, Mr. Udina. Could you please state your name and address for the record?
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi. Yeah, my name is Anthony Udina. I live at 876 Bridgewood Boulevard East. The reason why I'm calling is to echo the other comments regarding supporting the swim club. And also, in addition, 450 Pascack eventually, hopefully. I just want to express that, I'm against high density development in our town, and I'm concerned about 450 Pascack and the swim club. Developers are out there to maximize their profit just like any other corporation out there. So I'm concerned that if the swim club sells to a developer, that they will go full force to put in high density housing and instead of 5 to 6 single family homes. That really scares me. My concern for 450 Pascack is that if there's no support from the entire council to protect the swim club, then I'm worried, will there be support to protect 450 Pascack? That scares me also. I just don't want to see overdevelopment take over our town. I don't want our town to be like the surrounding towns, all the development that you hear about in Emerson, Hillsdale, Woodcliff Lake, Montvale, Park Ridge, and many other towns in our area. I'm extremely frustrated driving through Park Ridge on Kindercamack Road, just to go from one side of the town to the other. It's unbelievable how long it took, and it's just frustrating. A previous gentleman spoke about, in one of his comments about Lower Bergen and Bergen County, and basically no trees being around there. I grew up in Lower Bergen County area, and years ago, it was a beautiful place to live. It was great. The traffic wasn't the way it was. And then all of a sudden you get these huge high rises in and all, high density housing. And I go there every week to visit my parents, and the amount of traffic is just frustrating. I think you all understand, everybody brings up the points about, why we shouldn't do overdevelopment and allow that in our town. I just hope that we preserve the swim club property, whether it's used for the pool or something else, and also 450 Pascack Road. So I just want to thank you all for the time, and I hope you all have a good evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Udine. I hope you have a good evening also.
Thanks.
Mr. Lumpkin.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Michael Lemkin, 723 Amherst Drive. I emailed the council this morning, and I just want to thank Councilwoman Morgan for replying. That means a lot that she spent the time. I know all you guys are busy working, and she read the email and replied, so I do appreciate it. I'm calling about the swim club. I guess I'll give you a little bit of background. I spent the first 26 years of my life in Emerson. With Emerson, we shared sports because we were a small school with Park Ridge, and I got my Eagle Scout out of Rivervale. So I know the area pretty well. And then me and my wife got married, bought a house in Washington Township. So I've seen a lot of changes in the towns in the area, mostly not for the better. I think a couple other callers already expressed that. So I'm calling in support of purchasing the swim club. Unfortunately, this issue has gotten too political, so I feel necessary to say this, even though I probably shouldn't have to, is I haven't been a big fan of the mayor in this administration. I've disagreed with a lot of stuff that's happened. When I watch meetings, I find myself agreeing with Councilman DeSena more often than not. And the way the swim club happened, in my opinion, wasn't good. You know, you do it at an April meeting, Councilman Casio, Councilman DeSena aren't there. It felt wrong. The price was at 1.850, then it's 600, then 400 renovation, and it's just a lot of things that changed, or we didn't get the full picture. And I think that's one of the problems. But I've talked to a couple people that are against purchasing the swim club to get their ideas, and it seems there's a couple main things I always heard. One was the price. Regarding like $1 million bond being $18 a year, etc. So I don't know if there's a way to dive into that more or show evidence or make the case that $1 million bond will only cost that much. I don't know if there's something to show people. Because even if the renovations that we want are more than $400,000 and the swim club costs $2 million instead of $1 million, well, if it truly is $18, now you're talking about 18 turns to 36. Now, I have a daughter that's about to turn 3, and my wife's about to give birth to our first son in a couple weeks. So to me, to spend $36 a year to guarantee more land isn't overdeveloped, like Emerson, like Park Ridge, I've seen it. It's terrible. I mean, what the previous mayor did in Emerson, it's atrocious. It's a worthwhile investment. The other argument I heard or concern from people was that this was a ploy for a mayor, whether current or future, to then go and sell it to a developer friend. Well, I feel like there's an easy solution to that. Can you put in the bid or whatever, the contract, making a clause saying the town purchases the swim club, but it can't be sold for 15, 20 years? Something like that. Get rid of that. Get rid of those rumors. And the last thing would be the development. Now, Councilman DeSena, like you, I am an engineer. It's probably why I gravitate more towards your comments and the way you analyze the situation. But we built the turnpike right through a swamp. They built Giant Stadium right through a swamp. I mean, if the money's there, someone could come and say, hey, I have 6 acres. I could build so-and-so. They'll put the money into it. They could build whatever they want there if they see that there's a return on investment. I'm not sure anyone could look at it and analyze that quickly. I think that's probably a couple months worth of calculations to figure out, hey, what is it going to cost? What's my return on investment? But it's absolutely possible. I mean, you drive, especially in the Western Spur, you go down by 18W on the turnpike and you're going towards like 15W, 15E exits. Look around you. It's just swampland. But anything is possible. But it's just like seeing what happened in Emerson, Park Ridge. I don't want to see that happen here. And like Mr. Udina and Mr. Scalia said, though, in my opinion, listen, I would love to see the town right now buy the swim club $1 million, buy 450 Pascack, give him the 2.1 million. I don't care. Buy Charlie Brown's for whatever, $1 million. Because if the $18 per million is accurate, you're telling me that is at $60, $80, $100 a year for the town to own all this property. I wish the town bought the tennis club. Now I have this ugly development coming next to my house. I wish the town bought the Bethany Church property. It could have been great. We could have had a great center over there if the town wanted.
35 seconds, Mr. Lemkin.
Buy everything. I mean, our kids are the future. The most important resource this town has is our kids. I'm a young family in town. I want the best for my kids and then their kids and so on. So I just hope you guys reconsider and listen to the arguments of the people that are against it, and hopefully you could address it or calm those concerns. And hopefully we can get this. But lastly, real quick, I agree with Mr. Scalia. Listen, we can't buy the swim club at the detriment of 450 Pascack. I think that has to be the priority. If you see what those people, like their backyards, I know some of you council, I was there at the meetings with you. You saw their backyards. You saw where the school is. That would be horrendous.
Sorry, your time is up, Mr. Lemkin.
All right, thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Lumpkin. Have a good evening. John? Could you please unmute your microphone?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, absolutely.
John Pistono, 631 Washington Avenue.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Pistono.
Good evening, everybody. I'm in my son, the Marine, in his bedroom. I'm looking out one of the north windows at this Frankenstein of a building that's being erected right outside our home. We were never notified at any time during the process. Okay. Very unhappy with that. 38 years I've paid taxes in this town. I'm a Vietnam veteran. I did not expect to be treated in this fashion and all of my neighbors be treated in this fashion. I think it was very, very underhanded, the way things have been going on here. As far as I'm concerned, the footprint of this does not fit in the neighborhood. We pass Westwood's facility dozens of times a week, and it just looks so beautiful. This thing is god-awful to look at. The height of it is out of this world. You're going to put another 12-foot cupola on top of it? I pegged this at 69 foot on the corner that I'm staring at right now. And another 12 feet, you're going to be close to 80 feet. That's a fact of life. I don't care what people tell me. I don't care who comes over here and measures, because I want a physical survey of this thing. I want proof that this thing is code. Number two, I'm looking at the pitch of the center section. You are turbocharging water that is going to curl right off the south side of that building, the front of the building, right into Washington Avenue. There's no way it's going to get stopped. Same thing will happen in the back of the house. It will fall between the retaining wall on the north side of this new facility, and water finds its way to the lower level. We all know this. It's going to wind up in Beekman's yard. It's going to wind up in McCluskey's yard. It's going to wind up in Teshio's yard. It'll wind up all the way down to Clinton Avenue. Third thing, what is the purpose of 5x5 LED logos, fireside and EMS side? I've surveyed 5 fire houses in Bergen County: Montvale, New Milford, Northvale. None of them have any LED lights on it. This is going to be shining in all of the bedroom windows of everybody on Washington Avenue. You have a 7-year-old right next door to me and a 6-month-old 2 doors up. I want you people to put yourself in our position, okay? Looking at this structure as it is, I was always proud of living in Washington Township, coming out of Lower Bergen, Moonachie and Hackensack, okay? The gentleman that was just on described some of the development going on here. It's atrocious. And here we are doing the same thing in the township. You know, this house was always a nest egg for my 2 sons. Right now, I wouldn't even consider asking them to come back home, one in California, the Marine, and the other guy in Colorado, because I wouldn't want them living, viewing this horrible looking building, okay? And what one of my neighbors said a little bit earlier about the engines, you've come approximately 26 feet closer to Washington Avenue. it's a blind spot for these poor fire people. They're going to have to make a hard left and swing around the front of this building to go east on Washington Avenue. I don't think it's going to work. I sold Freightliner equipment for many years. Okay? You're making it impossible for these folks. I talked to one of the EMS fellows one day, and he said to me, I don't know how we're going to get in and out of the building. I'm a driver. You know, I want everything for the fire department, everything for the police department, everything for EMS. God only knows I might need them in the near future and stuff, okay? But this is really an atrocity what has occurred here. And I'm putting the blame on all of you folks because you were involved in this. You didn't allow us to participate in this stuff. We know of many families that didn't get any kind of notification. And as I repeated on another occasion, a lot of people don't subscribe to the Bergen Record. So what I'm saying to you is you should make this right, okay? There should be a compromise here.
35 seconds, Mr. Pistono.
Okay, and well, I'm going to leave it at that. When we get into the public meeting, I'll get into a few other things because I'd like to address some comments by Mr. Sears. And-
Mr. Pistono, this is the public portion of the meeting.
Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay. It says Sheree. Would you please unmute your microphone? Oh, good evening.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, this is Sheree Lumpkin from 723 Amherst Drive. My husband just spoke, obviously. Calling in support of this purchasing the swim club for a few reasons, but mainly because we need to stop the overdevelopment in our town. People say, oh, it's zoned for single family, but we all know that can change. So I've heard people say, oh, the Viviano property went through and this property went through. So who cares about this one? But we need to stop the bleeding. And if we don't do it now, then it's just going to be another huge development that we don't have room for in our town. Secondly, I have a little kid. I'm having another little kid in a couple weeks. So I would like our town to stay nice for our kids and for their kids and generations to come. And I think it's going to be a huge lost opportunity if we lose this property. That's my daughter. You can hear her. She looks beautiful. She said, how do I look? And really, I mean, I agree with everything everyone else had to say about it. I think there's opportunities to do other things with the property. If it fails as a swim club, I think you can make it a sports facility. You can make it a farmer's market. There's lots of other things you could do. I think Mr. Ullman called on Monday and asked what the top 5 things would be. I would like to hear that answer as well. One other question I have is I've seen the mayor post on Facebook that if that we're obligated to try to run it as a swim club for a couple of years. Now, a couple means 2, but sometimes when people say a couple, they really mean a few. So I would like some clarification on what that means. Does that mean 2 years or does that mean a few years? I think that's really all I have to say. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for calling in. Have a good evening.
You too.
Is there anyone else on the line that would like to speak?
I see a hand up.
Do?
Yeah, let's see if we can find where they are. Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Casado. Could you please unmute your microphone? Yes. Casado.
Can you hear me?
Yes. What can? Could you please state your name and address for the record, and how are you this evening?
I'm doing really well. My name is Douglas Casado. I live at 2430 Cleveland Avenue.
What can the council do for you this evening?
So I just got an email saying I should call into the council. And so a big discussion around whether we should buy swim club property. And I wanted to make sure that the council is aware that there are people out there that want to buy it. And I think it's a great idea.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cusado.
Absolutely.
Have a good evening. Sue, did you remove him?
No, I didn't do anything with him.
Okay, neither did I. Okay, just making sure.
But I don't.
Good evening, Mrs. Grimaldi. Would you please unmute your microphone?
Hi, Diane Grimaldi, 441 Van Emberg Avenue. I just want to make sure, hi. I just want to make sure that everybody's talking about there is a condition that we continue to keep this trying to run as a swim club for the next couple of years. Is that a condition that the mayor negotiated with the swim club? Because I think it's a consensus of probably most, if not everyone in town, that it is a wonderful purchase, whether it be $600,000 or $1 million to buy this property. But a failed swim club, putting more money into a failed swim club just does not make any sense to me. And the property itself, if it's being offered to the town for green space, for fields, would be a wonderful purchase, but I don't understand why it needs to be run as a swim club. That's my question.
Is there anything else we can do for you, Mrs. Grimaldi?
No, I have a lot of notes. One more question. I just would like to ask the mayor, why grants equal restrictions? Because to me, working in local government, Green Acres grants, open space grants, give the township, give municipalities money to do things exactly the way we want to do them. And so I don't understand what the restrictions are. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Grimaldi. Have a good evening.
You too.
Mr. Kaz, would you please unmute your microphone? Ed Kaz, would you please unmute your microphone? Mr. Kaz, the unmute should be on the bottom left-hand side of your screen. I believe, is that correct? Mr. Kaz, you're unmuted. Oh, he's connecting his audio. Okay, just hold on one.
Never got on mute again.
Well, I think, yeah. Well, some people are new to Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
I wish just the admin, you could like unmute them if you want.
That's yeah, exactly. That's what I'm looking. I'm like, there's no option.
If your Zoom is listening, they could put that feature on. That'd be nice. Mr. Kaz, could you unmute your microphone, please? Oh, no.
He hung up.
Yeah. Well,
maybe
we'll
we'll
give it a
call him
second.
back in. Let's give him a minute and see.
A second, yeah.
Yeah. Remove him. Let's remove him.
Is that him back again?
No, let's see. No, that's right there.
Okay. All right. I don't see anybody else. We'll just give it a minute.
Yeah, Mr. Cash, try one more time.
Yes.
Okay, there he is again.
Okay, perfect. Let's try this again. Good evening, Mr. Kez, you're unmuted.
Yes, probably my settings, privacy settings on my phone. I apologize.
No, that's no problem. We just wanted to make sure that we gave you the opportunity to call.
Of course, I just wanted to call in and voice my opinion for the swim club. I feel like pool or no pool, you're not going to get an opportunity to purchase 6 acres in this town.
Mr.
Or
Cass,
anywhere.
Excuse me,
in Bergen
Mr.
County.
Cass.
I'm
Could
sorry.
you state your address for the record, please?
Got it. 669 Chestnut Street, Washington Township.
Thank you.
No problem. Sorry about that.
No.
So just to keep it short and sweet, we all know what real estate costs in this county. You're not going to find, I think you'd be hard pressed to find 1 acre in Bergen County for the price that we're being offered to purchase 6. I'm sure there's going to be some costs with running the pool. And you'll probably get some revenue from running the pool, since I know a large portion of people who live in this town go to surrounding towns to go to the pool. And some people have their own pools and they'll utilize it for other things. And whether the pool survives or doesn't survive, I feel like the property alone should be the reason to purchase the property from the town. That's all. Thank you very much and have a good night.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kess. Have a good evening. Okay, we have 201-240-5092, I believe. Yeah. Yes. Good evening. Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
Daisy Velez, 666 Van Emberg Ave, Township.
Yes. Good evening, Mrs. Velez. How are you?
Good. I'm calling in regards to the swim club, and I just want to echo a lot of the words that are already stated by many of our residents in regards to the swim club. As a parent, it's really important that we offer an opportunity to our children to meet other children from the town in order to create bonds. So it's not such a George and Washington school position. I find it really important for us to offer our kids an opportunity to get together in a safe place where they can use their energy, a safe place to socialize for our teenagers. And I know that we shouldn't purchase things for nostalgia. However, family bonding, community pools, that is the focus of so many family memories. That's where it happens. Also, I'm calling as Director of Public Affairs because acquiring a swim club is another location that we desperately need, right? If the swim club doesn't work out for whatever reason, this is a location. These are 6 acres that we now have to provide other events and community bonding for our residents, right? The possibilities are endless. Farmers market, and I know people have already stated so many of these ideas. Farmer markets, our expos, I mean, you name it. If this goes into the hands of a developer, we're out. We're out those 6 acres. We're out potential summer concerts, bands, kid activities. So I really ask that the council reconsider their no vote, because as an elected official, you are supposed to follow what the community wants. You are to listen to the requests and the voices of the people that elected you. So I do ask that we reconsider this no vote and make the swim club our property, our decision to decide what happens in its place. And that is all. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Les. I hope you have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, is there anyone else on the attendees that would like to speak this evening? So I don't see anybody, do you?
No, I do not at this moment.
Okay, all right. So we're going to motion to close public comment for the meeting. Second, please.
I'm sorry, who moved?
I did.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
I'll second.
Roll call? All in favor?
Yeah, sorry, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Cassia, do you have any comments?
No, not really. I listened to a lot of, passion on both sides of the aisle for the swim club. There's some good points and some ill-informed points that some people have made. I also heard a lot of discussion about the firehouse and the way that's going. So obviously we're going to look into that and see what's awry there. So again, I'll be down at the firehouse looking at some specs and some drawings and find out what the hubbub's about. It is a big structure, and we're going to take a look and see if they're following plans. So that's all my comments for today are. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Cassia. Councilman DeSena?
Yes, the firehouse seems to be an issue at 82 feet, if Mr. Pistono is correct. I hope it's not, but it does appear to be visibly high. So to Mr. Pistono, Mr. Beekman, Mr. Mahudi, I hope that's not the case, and I hope the mayor can look into it with the committee, which I'm no longer part of for the last year and a half, and make sure they can resolve that issue. Mr. Mahoney, Mrs. Fanarjian, Mr. Scalia, Mrs. Grimaldi, Mr. Kaz, Mr. and Mrs. Lemkin, Mr. Shah, Mr. Durso, Mr. Udina, Conti, Zachary. I got all the emails. I got all the text. I have no issue with open space and saving it, but I have an issue when the numbers don't add up. I reached out to Stony Brook. I reached out to Woodcliff Lake, and I did my own math, which I've been asking for 2.5 years while the mayor's been negotiating for a feasibility study and for some numbers. So, if we take the taxes alone for the swim club and you take the $34,874 and you divide it by the $35.75, we already have a tax increase to every resident of $10. If we add the property acquisition of $1 million, that makes it $30 because it's another $20 because it's $18 per million, but that doesn't include the soft costs we have to pay for Mr. Beinfeld and all that stuff. So let's call it 20. In talking with the other pool operators, they said for a pool this size, with bills, staffing, expenses, we should probably be looking at an operating expense of about $200,000. If you divide that by 3,575 residents, that's another $56 per year. If you do you probably need a minimum of another $1 million in investments down there and improvements. With that includes the $200,000 for the parking lot. We're at $106 per taxpayer in Washington Township. So it adds up very quickly. And I have no problem with buying it for open space, but I have a problem with dumping all this money and, putting the burden on every single taxpayer. In order for it to be viable at $600 a member, to pay the $378,950 that it would cost to operate this per year, to make it completely net neutral, we would need 631 members. Based on the existing membership, I don't think we can get to 631. I did do some calculations, and I said, hey, let's take out the acquisition cost because that's a loss leader because we're buying the property. Like everybody says, it's a great piece of property. We're not going to get it for any less. And I took out the loss of the tax revenue. We still need 417 members to make it net neutral. These numbers are never going to happen. Everybody I emailed back today was not a member, and nobody responded saying why they weren't a member. I got some people did, I give everybody I got a lot of yays and I got some no's, a lot of no's saying don't buy it. I have no problem with buying the property. I'm okay with buying the property, shutting the pool down, guaranteeing that there's no DPW trucks and then performing a feasibility plan. And I will okay the $1 million going directly to the swim club with no $400,000. That's our offer. And that's what I present to the council tonight is give the swim club $1 million for the land. We shut the swim club down and we guarantee the people there's no DPW there. And then we perform a feasibility study of the entire property and see what the best uses are and come up with a cost benefit analysis of what we could build down there and can't build down there. But going into this blindly saying it's only $18, it is not $18. And I'm sorry, in the improvements, if we throw $1 million in there for $450, which we definitely need to acquire, you're at $126 then. I have no problem acquiring it, but I have a problem with the operating expenses being burdened by everybody because these membership numbers, there is no way we are getting 417 members, even if we take out the acquisition cost. So I will vote yes if we can come up with a new, how'd you say it, Mr. Pollard? What do we actually present? We're giving the mayor the authority to negotiate. So if the negotiations could include, no pool, $1 million, feasibility plan for the entire site to be performed between now and 2022. And we put no DPW trucks down there so we don't burden the residents with that hindrance. I would vote yes for that plan. Thank you, Mrs. Feeney.
Thank you. Councilman Sears.
Thank you, Ms. Feeney. A lot of emails today. I will agree. Very few negative that I received, a lot positive. A lot of the citizens out there do see what the future could bring for the township. I listened to Mike's comments a little while ago. He brings a lot of good things to the table. The mayor has done a ton of work on this. It's obvious that we need the space. We need the environment for us to move forward for our community. And let me just take a side note to Mr. Conti. Thank you for your comment. I did felt that I was being attacked, and I do apologize for my comments to you. This is a very sensitive subject for me. So with that being said, please let's move forward together for positive for the township. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Councilman Sears. Vice President Morgan?
Thank you. I'm not going to go over every person who emailed and called in because it was a lot. And I just want to say that I commend our residents because that's exactly what I was hoping for. I was hoping to hear from them, to see what they want. I think Mrs. Velez said it the best when she said that, we are elected into this position. Our sole purpose is to be the voice of the residents, the majority of the residents. They live here, we live here, but we are in this position because they entrusted us to do the right thing on their behalf. That being said, I do want to say just one comment. I don't solicit anyone to call in or strong arm, I think was the word that was used before, to sway anyone to the way that I vote. There's none of that happening. I persuade everybody in the fact that, but don't be afraid to call in. This is why we're here. We're here to work for you. Don't be intimidated to call in. It can be intimidating. So my conversation with everybody is no matter how you feel about the pool or anything we're discussing, the firehouse, whatever, call in or come in, when we get back in. Let your voice be heard. That is what Mrs. Feeney and I promised that we would do when we were running, 2 years ago. We promised that that's what we would do. We would be your voice, and that's all we are. We are your voice. You want the swim club. It seems almost unanimous with a couple of people saying no, but the majority who called in and emailed do want the swim club for whatever reason. I'm not opposed to anything happening down there. I want the open space. So I want to say that it does sound like there are some issues with the firehouse. So I hope that that's going to be addressed. I will continue to follow up with that. Just, to calm anyone's fears. Maybe it is, the way it's supposed to be. It just appears large. It's larger than life. I agree. I don't know that that's a bad thing again, but it doesn't I'm not the expert. So I just want to say, I hear you. We hear you. We're going to work on it. And I appreciate and I applaud everybody who called in. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Morgan. So I want to say that I have supported the purchase of the swim club property. I want to address a few things that were spoken about tonight. Number one, to Mr. Durso, the previous vote was not for the bond. It was for the approval for the administration and the mayor to go back to the swim club and make the offer to them. We are under a time constraint, which has been previously discussed. I will also say, since this is now out in the public, that this topic has been brought to the council previously in closed session, and several members of the council rejected it automatically for my last year and a half plus on the council. So this is not something that was just sprung upon the council within the last couple of weeks. They had approached with conversations, and I would just want the public to be aware that the mayor and the administration did work hard previously to get something going with the swim club. So we are at this point where a decision has to be made. Mrs. Grimaldi, in response to the use of land and the grants, they would follow the same suit just as Sherry Field, where I believe it was Green Acres, correct? And we have limited use on part of that property and the other parks in town. So if we use grant money, there are lots of stipulations. If you'd like, I could get the information from I will get the information from the grant writer and forward it to you. This is 6 acres of land that if we do not acquire it for the town, and I don't think it's a terrible thing to have a swim club in town. I know we would go to the swim club. My daughter's friends would go, swim lessons. We could have a town swim team. We could rent it out to the WWRSD if they want to have a swim team and use it. There's lots of uses, potential recreation site, additional fields, even if it's, just to have a gathering site. And I do remember the mayor saying that there possibly could be some equipment stored, not trucks, but he did say equipment. So I do want to make that point that trucks was not spoken about previously. It was equipment, which it's dormant equipment during several seasons. The other thing is regarding the membership numbers. We did have a meeting in the council with the pool board, and it is not 600 members to keep it operating. They did give us the exact numbers that it costs and the membership fees, and it was very much less than that. And all of the council was at that meeting. We all received the same information. They did provide a profit and loss statement to show us what the operating cost was, and they did provide the information to the mayor and the administration.
Mrs. Meany, when was that profit and loss statement provided? Because I never received it.
I believe they showed it, but didn't you meet with them? They should, anyway. So just to keep going with my comments. So there was that information which was spoken about also at the meeting. You were present at, Councilman DeSena.
But we did not come up, we were not told the numbers.
Okay, I'm sorry, but we were told the numbers. They gave us the amount of current members that they have. They gave us the what they plan to use for the membership fee, what it costs to operate it, and they informed us of that. And it would cover the cost. So I want to make sure everyone is aware of that. Yes, there are some issues. We all know that. They are currently renting it out to someone, so it is being used. It's not in complete disarray and falling apart, but there are remediations that need to be made. However, if we pass this up, and in 2025, a developer has acquired the land, we will be in a high-density housing situation or townhouses, which several residents have said that it will turn that neighborhood and those entrances and those roads into very busy roads. People will not be able to go for a walk. Kids will be in danger. It will not be a good situation down in that area. Regarding the firehouse, I do think the residents who are concerned, they do need to be addressed. I absolutely agree. They have concerns. But in regards to the 6 acres and the swim club, it's absolutely vital to keep our town the small, I will use Councilman Morgan's gem that it is. So thank you. Mr. Mayor, or actually Mr. Poller, do you have any comments regarding, or whoever wants to go first?
Peter, you can go. I really don't have any comments. Okay, yeah, I'll go. Thank you. Yeah, first and foremost, I want to thank all the residents who chose to get involved via their emails and calling in. We're here to listen to you. We all asked for your vote at our election times, and we're here to listen to you. And so, again, I appreciate everyone taking an interest in this, whether you're for it or against it. Always happy to hear what our residents have to say. Regarding the fire and ambulance building, I believe the architect has said he will be able to join us at our next regularly scheduled meeting. And, I would hope that he would have answers to some of these questions, and the residents should feel free to call back in that meeting and ask him all the questions that they can think of. Might take me a minute just to go through my list here. A lot of people supported the swim club. There's no question that it needs work. However, the agreement is we would purchase the land for $600,000 and we agree to put $400,000 in. I would hope that that $400,000 can make it a safe, clean environment. Once we own it, we can apply for grants to see if there are any around to do improvements. But obviously, we can't do that until we own the property. To my knowledge, there are no grants around on spec that say if you buy the property, we will agree to give you some grant money. So, of course, we're going to look for grant money. But it is not my intention to sink a lot more, if any more, than the $400,000 we agreed to make it clean and safe, and see if we can, if there's enough community interest in it, that we would either put more money into it because the residents have shown that they want the swim club and it can justify the associated costs. If not, we've agreed with the swim club 2 years, and if it doesn't work out, they're fine, as long as we can say we did a good faith effort to try and make it work. We can then have full 6 acres to do whatever the town residents want the governing body at that time to do in 2 years. 450 Pascack, as far as my vote would go, not that I have a vote, but that this does not interfere with that. It's maybe a little unfortunate that they both come available at the same time, but they offer unique opportunities, each one, for the town. We have to take advantage of the both of them. It is $18 a year for every million borrowed over 20 years. So I think the town budget can support buying both properties. Just go through more of my notes. Tom, I'm glad that you accepted Mr. Conti's apology. As far as his comment about that there are 3 yes people, I'm glad I'm not glad. I'm disgusted to hear that he says that about people who were voted in by the voters, that that he considers them yes people. We all bring different perspectives to our jobs, and so just because they vote a different way than a couple other people, I don't consider them yes people. I consider everyone on this council extremely intelligent. We were all put here by the voters, and we do bring different perspectives to certain things. But to call them yes people is another slap in the face, just like he did to Mr. Sears in the last meeting. So to me, that apology means nothing if you follow up with an insult right afterwards. Again, I never said there would be no trucks at the swim club. Never, because it was always my intention to store some equipment there. And again, if we don't put it there, where are we going to put it? Putting DPW back in the same location. If anyone has been in the parking lot now, even with the equipment off-site at Valley and OLGC, the parking lot is packed. Now you start bringing in people back into the building, which will happen next month. You bring the seniors back. There's 0 parking. So if we don't buy this piece of property to put equipment at, where are we going to put this equipment? Are we going to have to buy another piece of property in town somewhere to store this equipment? Okay, now you've just diluted the money for the swim club. So, I take exception to, a remark, no trucks at the swim club. I never said that because it was always my intention to store trucks there. As I said, the equipment that is stored at Valley and OLGC has been sitting there for weeks. So it's not like there's going to be a constant in and out of vehicles going out of the swim club, at least not for DPW equipment. Also, I never said it was not my problem about the bondholders. Don't put words in my mouth. I said we don't control if the bondholders get paid. I never said it was not our problem. There's a huge difference there, but I'm not surprised. I'm really not surprised. To address Mr. Durso, because he appreciated that I answered all his questions last time. It's back on the agenda because I'm not sure that everyone understood that even though it was 3 votes and it passed, it's really a hollow offer to the swim club if we don't demonstrate that we have a 4th vote to back it up with money. It'd be like someone buying your house and say, yeah, I'm going to give you $1 million for your house, but I haven't been pre-approved, and I probably won't get the money because I don't have a 4th vote for it. So let me say, I want to make sure everyone understands that that's the reason it's back on the agenda. Is yes, we can put an offer in, and they're going to view it with those conditions to say, oh, here's an offer with no money, and I have offers from developers for a lot more money, and they probably have money in hand. So where do you think our offer is going to sit? It's going to go to the bottom of their stack. I don't blame them. If I were selling, I'd do the exact same thing. Joe, we can do everything that you mentioned there. Doesn't really matter who owns it, but this is where we are now. If we don't buy it, we won't be able to do any of that there. So, if we don't buy it, we can't do fields, can't do anything. Here's where we are now. I can't speak for what has happened before, but this is where we are now. The property is for sale. We can buy it. And like I like to say, we'll have plenty of options then to do almost anything we want. And by we, I mean the voters and the taxpayers, not just the elected officials. Mr. Lemkin, I appreciate your comments that you're disappointed in me and the administration. I appreciate your honesty. My door is always open. I'd be happy to talk with you, any other resident who may disagree with my stance on anything. We're limited sometimes in what we can talk about during council meetings. Perhaps if we could have a sit down sometime, you could go into more detail as to what you're disappointed in. I could perhaps explain my position and where I come from on those things a little better. I looked back real quick. I don't see that I got an email from you, so I couldn't have responded to it, but I did get one from your wife that I did respond to. Also, your comment about buying Bethany. To me, apples and oranges. We can get these 6 acres for $600,000 with an agreement to put $400,000 in. Bethany, I believe the sale price was around 9 or 10 million, and the building needed extensive work, no matter what it was going to be used for. I hope a lot of you who've gone into Bethany, they have put a lot of time and money into that building. It was in very much disrepair. So 9 million would have just been the start of spending money there. Let's see. I think I answered your question, Mrs. Grimaldi. We've agreed to put 400,000 in. It is 2 years that we have agreed with the swim club that if we see it's not feasible, that is our out to stop operating it as a swim club. Mrs. Feeney went into the grants part of it and the restrictions. That if we took grants, I think we're getting it at a very good price. And so I'd rather bond it at 2% over 20 years and not have any restrictions at all on it. Like Mrs. Feeney said, we couldn't use Sherry, or it was questionable at best if we could, even to store DPW equipment. So, I think at the price point we're at with them, we should not worry about grants for acquiring. I'm all in favor of looking at grants to do improvements once we own the property. Also, this will give the ability to perhaps give Memorial Field and our other fields a rest. We all know we're very tight for field space. In talking with the coordinator, he says he has more requests for space just among our town organizations than can be provided right now. Never mind giving the fields any rest or anything like that. So, the more open space, if we can do a field there, great. Then, it helps give all the other fields some corresponding rest. And my last statement is, again, anyone who is trying to justify this as narrowly as a pool, I think that is somewhat short-sighted. A pool is one aspect that, we're getting it at a very good price because the swim club members want to see it stay as a swim club. Part of the reason they couldn't make a go of it, they couldn't get over the property tax burden, and we can get it at much less insurance than they had to pay. So those are the two big expenses that the town will not have or will have it greatly reduced with the insurance. So I believe that I've covered as much as I was able to take notes on. Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you. I want to just clear up, I misunderstood then, Mr. Mayor, that you said you were going to store trucks there. So that's my mistake, my own mistake.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, Mrs. Feeney, can I ask the mayor a question, please?
Do you want to do it after we go we're going to move into the discussion? Hold on one second.
I just want to ask him a question before we move into discussion because I may have more questions. I need to get a question out to get more questions ready.
Is it about the acquisition of the swim club property though?
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna leave the public comment portion and go into the discussion of the swim club acquisition that's on the agenda.
Okay.
I just want to leave it since everybody made their comments already. Go ahead.
Mr. Mayor, the 400 does not include the 200,000 in paving, correct? Or does it include the 200,000 in paving? Since that's one of the things we discussed in close, but Mrs. Feeney talked about close, so I'll talk about close now too. So does that include the $200,000 to pave the parking lot, or is that in excess of the 400,000?
First off, I'm not sure where you got the number of 200,000, so I'll leave that aside. And
well, let's call it 100,000, whatever we want to call it. There's a cost associated with paving the parking.
Let's not throw numbers out unless they're confirmed.
I measured it, and I'm coming up with to repair that parking lot based on the price we paid last year to pave our streets. You need approximately, I rounded up, so I took a little liberty from $186,282 and made it 200,000. So if you want the $186,282 number, we could use that number. But is that included in the 400, or is that not included in the 400?
There's no restrictions, at least currently, and I don't see putting any in that say what we have to or cannot spend that 400,000 on. Now, let me say, if we decide, if we buy it and we decide to use it to store DPW equipment, I would defray some of the paving costs to that use to say, all right, we're using it as DPW. So if we're carving out $1, we would say, all right, DPW is using some. That's not fair to throw on the whole swim club. So I would make that distinction.
So let's split it in half. What if we say 50%, $93,000? Would that come out of the 400,000 then?
Again,
I'm trying to make a decision here because I'm disagreeing. I'm still disagreeing with the $18 number. So, when I do the math, it's $106 per resident for to buy this property, not 18. And if we're going to have that and then give them the 400 for other things and then come up with another 100,000, let's call that, that's more money every year coming out of everybody's taxes. But I just want to see what, and is operating expenses like hiring lifeguards coming out of the 400, or is that on top coming out of salary and wages for the town?
I wasn't jotting your questions down, Mike, because I thought it was just going to be paving, and then you went into a whole bunch of other areas.
I'm sorry, paving. Well, first paving is the paving coming out. If we split it with them.
just if you remember, when we did talk to the swim club board, they said things like that, which we did ask about the lifeguards and the operating, that comes out of the operating, which they did factor into the numbers they did give us. So just so from perspective, that was
where is the chlorine getting paid for? Where is the electric bill?
It's in their operating. It was part of their operating expense. We actually did talk about that. We said that the money that the town would put into the swim club was not part of the operating expense that they discussed with us, with the number of members that they have with the new price for the membership.
Which was $600, approximately $600 a member. So
right, because if you look at Hillsdale, I think in-town membership for Hillsdale is, I think, around 500 or
but did you
something
look
like
at
that.
Stony Brook? I mean, did you look at Stony Brook versus what we have? I mean, it's night and day.
But I'm not talking about a current situation of a pool that's running. I'm only referring.
Paving for a moment.
Sorry, say that one more time.
Can I steer us back to the paving for a moment?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify what he was saying about the other items that that they were already spoken to.
All right.
Hillsdale, Mrs. Feeney, just because I have you on the topic, Hillsdale subsidizes their pool in their 2021 budget by $180,000 above their membership costs. So that's what Hillsdale puts into their municipal budget for 2021. I have a snapshot of it. I could send it to you.
No, I actually have looked at it myself. But you should be aware that the amount of people who are not in town, who pay for an out-of-town membership, and the membership's, I think, $200 or $300 more per family, generates a lot of revenue for them.
Yeah, but
which I'm sorry, Councilman DeSena.
Go ahead.
I think that, the benefit is there. And again, back to the mayor, please get back to the paving. We could stay on that. That's fine.
But I just want to get back to
I have looked at Stony Brook and
they put $180,000
and I've looked at Saddle River too. $180,000. Again, based on the conversations with the residents, not a single one of them ever said anything about their taxes going up was a negative impact to them regarding.
But we keep using the $18 number, and that's a fictitious number.
I'm just letting you know what I've been told by the residents.
It's not a fictitious number.
No.
But you're not including all the costs. That's why it's not a real number. Because if we buy it, it's not a real number because you're not including what it costs to operate that pool. There's electric bills. There's all that. And 100 members generating $60,000.
Not 100 members. I think we have.
It is 100 members. That's what they told us. They have right now. And some of them are senior citizens. That was exact verbatim. Oh, excuse, maybe it's 103. And some of them are senior citizens. So that is generating.
Mr. Mayor, please continue with you were addressing the paving, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Upon the thinking about a little more while the two of you were discussing other things, obviously I can't do anything uniformly. First off, it needs the council's approval. But the paving, I don't think would be fair to put in the 400,000. And here's why. The paving will outlast any swim club use, whether the swim club makes it or not. If we buy the property, we're going to need parking for other things that are going on there. So, I would not be inclined to put any of the 400 toward the paving because that wouldn't be fair. We kind of said we would spend it on improvements to make the swim club viable. So to include the paving, when the paving will either, if the swim club makes it, we're hopefully still going to use that facility for many other things. And so it would be my opinion that we should not put any of that 400,000 in paving.
Okay.
Again, I'm happy to answer any and all questions.
I just don't. I'm all for buying it for open space. I am not for buying it and running it as a pool. So if that's a caveat that has to remain,
it's not even a caveat though. I mean, I think a caveat is a detriment to the word because if the agreement is that we operate the swim club for 2 years and it's not profitable and it's not going in the direction that's benefiting the town and it's only causing the town problems and concerns, then we own it. We can take it down. We can make it a field. We can make it a recreation center. The problem is not that to focus on from the perspective of the 6 acres, not just the perspective of the swim club, but the focus is 3 main points that all of us up here should be considering, which is 1, don't let it go to a developer because we will have a problem with in high density housing. Number two, the residents are saying to buy the property. There's not a single resident out there that has said, don't buy it. I have 2 emails. They both have points that say they would like to get more information before it's decision made. However, in the interim and the overall, they are still saying to acquire the property. And the third is that it is an opportunity for us to help support and expand services for the residents of this town, whether it's a swim club or a field or a rec center or open space. And it's only a positive long run on the long term. And if it's 2 years to operate the pool and it's not working, we can get out of it. Is that correct, Mr. Power?
Yeah, that was the deal that was enunciated.
Mr. Feeney, can I add one thing?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, keep in mind with the paving, if we own the property, we are permitted to apply for NJDOT grants for the paving of that parking lot, just like we did with the municipal lot. And in addition to that, the community development block grants are big on ADA compliant parking, which we could apply for a grant to address that need at that facility as well. So there are other options to cover that paving.
But see, I think
Morgan, you know what? I'm sorry, Mike. I think she was trying to say something, but I think it was.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I have a cold, so I sound like terrible. But yes, I definitely think you made a good point that the negotiating of making it just acquiring the 6 acres and it can't be a pool. That's not what's on the table, and that's actually not what the taxpayers who voted us in are asking. So that may be something that you want, but we have to. But Mike, hear me out, please.
I'm listening. I stopped myself because I got lots of emails saying shut it down. So I mean, I could, just as many emails said keep it open, and just as many said shut it down. That's right. So that's fine. I have different emails.
Okay, if you could just
I'm letting her talk,
please. Thank you.
So, but my point is, we're in that. I get what you're saying, and I appreciate that you're kind of halfway there. You're coming around to the idea of it, but I think that you can, if you look at it from a different lens, it's a win-win. If the pool is successful, that's fantastic. Then we have a really great asset for our town, and it's a win-win. If the pool is not successful, we still have those 6 acres. So we have the opportunity to then make something great with those 6 acres, so we don't lose. It's not like we're gonna, I think that if you look at it through that lens, you see that it's pretty much a win-win if we acquire this property. We're not rolling the dice and potentially, hopefully, only $6 million homes go up there. That we know what we're going to get. We're going to get a pool with an opportunity to thrive, and if it doesn't, then we have 6 acres that we get to do something with.
The other thing
that's
is
what our residents are asking.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you've heard several residents speak and say the price for the property is unbeatable at this current day and age. It's not going to be offered to us again. We're not, and somebody brought up Bethany, and since I grew up in town, I remember before the YMCA was put there, that the property was offered to the town, and that administration passed on it. And then a developer came in and wanted to put an office building, which would have given us the large rateable. And then that got turned down also. And then we ended up with the YMCA. So again, going back and looking back again, that was another missed opportunity. And I don't think that operating a swim club for 2 years, based upon the emails received by a lot of residents. And Mike, I'd love to see the emails that you got saying pass on it, because I only have 2 when I
can show all of you. I'm not going to show you their name, but I could print them all out for you and give them to you. But I'm not going to give you their names because they're worried about speaking. So, I mean,
if I could just finish what I was just saying, I would like to see them.
We talked about a utility board, Mr. Mayor, and I asked the questions and I got vague responses. I asked, if we buy this property, would a utility board be set up to run the swim club? And if members of the existing board would be members of that utility board, and how would that utility board consist of appointments by the council or full appointments by the mayor? And we received vague responses. If you could,
what was the response?
Would you like to read the response I gave you?
Yeah, you could. I'm just saying, but we didn't get an answer. We said we needed to do
I don't
diligence.
have it right in front of me. If
Go ahead, read them out loud.
I just said I don't
No,
have.
we can't, Mike, he's asking if you.
I'm sorry.
could
I
read
thought
it,
you
please.
had. I thought you had him, Mr. Mayor. Sorry. I just want to know, like, if we could agree that half the board is picked by the council and half the board is picked by the mayor.
What does the response say though? That's what he's asking. Could you
He
read it
didn't
to
have enough
everyone?
information at this time because we don't have enough time. But if I need stipulations that, I have a problem with, doing this.
Mr. Mayor, do you want to pull your response to read it from that
I
you
could
sent to
find
him?
it. I could find it. Give me a second. I hate using my phone, but
Did you send it? Did you send it to the whole council?
yes, he did send
Okay,
it.
hold on. Let me see if I can find it.
I'll try to.
You know what it was called? Didn't you call it pool questions, Mike?
I don't remember. That's on.
Yeah, and did Sue send it? Did I have?
That's what I'm looking for too. I'm on mine.
All right.
Find it.
Clear that up pretty quickly.
Question.
Here, I got it. The process will follow the same procedures that are currently in place for zoning, planning, library, recreation, number of board members, and which group selects which participants will be determined during the fall and winter months. So if we can make this board half council, half, I would vote yes, and I want no members of the existing pool on the board because
I don't know if you could do that from a legal perspective.
Mike, if that's what I have to, if that's what I have to do to get your vote on this, and assuming there's nothing illegal about it, I'm happy to split the board 50-50. Now, I
Mr. Fowler, can we do that second item?
I won't rule out existing board members, because why should we? That's not necessarily their fault. It was a money situation that it couldn't survive. Mike, I'm not going to automatically exclude anyone off the bat.
Some of them, a lot of them are new members. So there wasn't way back when members.
You keep banging your head against the wall and you're waiting for a different result. And, I just think, we started this 2.5 years ago, and to be put in the ninth hour, in the ninth inning, bottom of the ninth, we got to give you a decision. We got to give you a decision. We could have done this 2.5 years ago and had all these things resolved. And, that's my problem.
What's the date that I sent those responses?
It is on oh shoot. I think
it was Monday.
I think it was before we needed it for Monday night's meeting and we got him like the Friday before. So I don't know what the date is.
I don't remember getting any follow-up questions from you.
No, you answered the questions, but we'll decide this in the fall months. So I just want some, as long as we can split this board and put it on the record that this board would be split between the council and the mayor, that would help me ease. And I just, I'm not comfortable with the DPW trucks there. If we can get those two contingencies in there, I'd be more willing to do this.
All right, let's work as a team. Where do you suggest we put the DPW equipment?
Can I just say something? You keep saying trucks and equipment. Those are two different things.
Well, they're loaders. They're.
I'm just saying. There's trucks, and then there's pieces of equipment. I think.
I'm sorry. In my business, I call a truck a piece of equipment. So I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So I think if we could not put any trucks or equipment down there, I know there's no place else, but I think once the ambulance building is down and we reconfigure the parking lot and the two-bay garage that's taking up the aisles is taken down because we don't need it any longer. I think, you can make the parking lot more, configured, and we will need somewhere else. I don't disagree with you on that, but I just don't want to, we had neighbors complain down at Cherry Field about the exhaust and all that. And the trucks that are parked at OLGC are the seasonal trucks. So it's 3 dump trucks with the salt spreaders on them and the roll off. And it's a bunch of Mason dumps, that are seasonal trucks. So we're talking about parking 6 dump trucks down there, which I don't think is fair to the neighbors to look at those dump trucks all year round. But if we could find an accommodation, maybe if we could build a lean-to that we could park the trucks inside, but that's just spending more money. But I
agree, good money.
I'm not disagreeing with, the open space idea, but I just don't want to, I just can't, I want to make sure this board is handled correctly. And 2 years is a long time. And to be, we're all going to be in it for another $100 a year in taxes. And, every penny counts because, I'm still waiting for my adjustment from last year's estimated taxes because I never got it. It never went down like, we were told why, and this year I'm sure it's going to be the same. It's not going to be a $14 savings. It's going to go up again. And that's what I'm concerned about is that, we're taxing people out of town. Everybody's for the swim club, but when you look at the numbers, it's a lot of money. And I think if we could just come to an agreement, no trucks, we split the board in half and, we try to keep keep it as a new board. I'm not really, I really don't, the pool is, it needs, like what, Desiree and I spoke the other day and, it needs a shot in the arm to get members down there. And that shot in the arm is going to cost money. And it's a lot more than $400,000 because, we need ADA ramps. We need ADA bathrooms. We need ADA lift to put ADA people in the pool. It needs it needs a lot of work. That $400,000, we're going to eat that up in no time. And, in order to attract people, we need new chairs. You need umbrellas. You need everything. You need wind sails. You need a slide to get the kids down there. You need all this stuff.
But Mike, we don't have to do it all in one time. I mean, just read.
But Desiree, you got 2 years.
Hey, let her finish, please. Let her finish, please.
People were still coming. People know that pool is in complete disrepair right now, but they are still coming. They still love it. They still want to come. Whoever was coming. Just the renewed energy, knowing that the town bought it over and that we're revamping it, is going to draw in the new families that moved into town. Like I always keep saying, right, and the existing. But I mean, the demographic has shifted a little bit. There's a lot of young families that have moved in and are looking for what is this town offering me.
And the thing too is, once the friends start going, Julie's friends are going. Mom, I want to go to the pool. And then you got Mike's
and then they go in the summer rec, and it drums up business that way. Oh,
exactly.
I have to go to the pool. I want to go to the pool. But people aren't going to remember how bad it was, and they're going. You know what I mean? Like how bad compared to say Stony Brook, whatever. They're going to see that we're fixing it. We're getting it. It's getting better. It's clean and it's safe. Is what we have to present it as. And if at the end of 2 years that wasn't enough to get enough people in to make a substantial impact and it's not working, then we have 6 acres.
Have we looked into getting military tents to put down there? I mean, since we have the opportunity to reach into the government's pockets for military supplies, things like that, they may have large tents that we could pick up and put down there where it would hide the equipment. Just a train of thought, because we have the opportunity to get into that military warehouse.
Maybe you could work on that, with Mr. Tovo and the mayor. That'd be great.
Yeah, but again, Mike, I hate when topics get mixed. And so let me say, I find it a little sad that you threw out a tax situation that you have in the middle of this swim club thing.
But it's a lot of money, Mr. Mayor. It's $100 we're talking, not 18.
You said your estimated taxes were never evened out last year.
Yeah.
Well, this is the first I'm hearing of it. Have you said?
I brought it up last August when I said the estimated tax bills came out and mine went up by $200. I didn't see the $14 reduction from last year. And everybody called in. We had a lot of people call in, and Joy presented that it was, I shouldn't say her name, excuse me, that it was going to be adjusted by the end of the year. My taxes, that never went down, and it's a lot of money. You start getting into the 18s, and now you're approaching the 19s, and it's a scary proposition. That you're 19,000, and I got to pay for my garbage. I got to pay for all this other stuff, and I'd rather have garbage service, but I know it's saving 6 acres, and that's what I have a problem with. Is because I'd love to save the 6 acres, but this pool is just a money pit to me. That like I was saying before, we changed this up. But what I was saying to Desiree is, you got to give this thing a shot in the arm. You need new seats, new chairs, new tables, new umbrellas, a concession stand with somebody running it that's going to make real food. That all costs money. That costs a lot of money. And
well, if you farm out the concession stand, if you sell it as a concession and bring somebody in to run it, there are ways. If you don't want to use the kitchen, you can bring food trucks in. There's tons of options on the table to get it up and running, to maybe not like make it the most wonderful place on earth day one, but to make a plan. And right, Mr. Mayor, to go over, I mean, Desiree said it too. Don't make it seem like it's got to happen like right now. There's a 2-year that we're going to operate as a pool. If it doesn't work, it's be evident in the numbers itself. You can't lie with the numbers. The numbers are the numbers.
Yeah, and I'd like to go back to the DPW equipment for just a moment.
What's that? I didn't hear what Desiree said. Sorry.
I'm sorry. I said running the kitchen. I know we have to fix it, but employing somebody in the kitchen, that's an operating cost, no?
Yeah, that's true. Goes right. It comes out of the
So
operating
why
expense.
we wouldn't be right?
But there's no kitchen in there to run. We have
Yes,
to build.
there is. The kitchen. The kitchen. I toured the kitchen. The kitchen's brand new. The pool club, they renovated the entire kitchen.
The hood is brand new, but there's no stove underneath the hood. You need a stove to cook on. That little electric griddle. That little electric griddle is not a stove. There's a brand new hood there, Stacy, but you have to look down and
anyway, so the point is we could always bring in a concession. We could bring in food trucks. It won't cost anything. There's other options. It's not a singular option here. If you look at the way the world is now, there's millions and millions of options that we could do to revitalize this, operate it for 2 years. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Mike, do you have any other direct questions that I can answer to help you make up your mind one way or another? Have I answered all
There's no way we could agree no DPW trucks there and no pool. There's no way we can come to that concession.
Yeah, and let me say regarding the truck.
No pool. I'm sorry. No pool is not what our residents ask for. That is not what our residents are asking for.
Regarding the trucks, we all represent voters. I think you're looking at it perhaps a little too strictly, but that's my opinion. The vehicles that are parked at OLGC have been there since the 16th. Today's the 24th. They have not moved. As far as them being unsightly, all right, are we talking a couple $1,000s to put a fence around them to corral them at the swim club? Yes. But when you say about emissions, they haven't been started in 2 weeks.
But those are the same trucks.
Finish her change. Please let me finish her change.
Go ahead.
I submit to you that putting 6 houses there with cars going in and out would throw off more emissions than those trucks getting started once a month, maybe. So I think your emissions argument, although I appreciate you bringing it up, to me it doesn't hold water.
But the reason we didn't put those trucks at Sherry Field was because of emissions and all that. And that's why we didn't park them down there. So what's the difference? Why are we spending, $2,000 a month to park them there versus there if we're not driving them?
Let me tell you, the DPW trucks that were going to go to Sherry were operational every day because that was going to be the temporary home for them while the construction was going on. This is to store off-season equipment. So there's a huge difference. You can't compare the two.
But then why didn't we take those off-season equipment and put them at Sherry for free and not pay $62,000 in the next 2 years if they're off-season? That's what I don't understand. If there's no emissions, I know the neighbors complained about, we could have put up a big fence at Sherry and put them there if there's no emissions. But the biggest, when we all met with the residents, they were worried about emissions, fluid dropping, all that kind of stuff. So if these trucks aren't being used, what's the difference other than a cost?
The difference is, again, those trucks were going to go out in and out potentially a few times a week. We're talking about putting equipment at the swim club that is used seasonally. And so, one had to do with a temporary home while the building is going through what it has to go through. Another is a permanent use to store equipment that we are out of room for. So
But I'm not understanding what the difference. If they're seasonal trucks that aren't going to move, why couldn't we have put them at Sherry with a fence around it and saved all the money for paying rent every month if they're not going?
Again, I have to say, one was, do we need that parking space potentially when the season is going on at Cherry? Yes. In my opinion, those residents have suffered enough with storing the leaves in the parking lot for over 20 years. We've taken steps for that. But however, that includes buying now even more garbage trucks. Where are we going to store these garbage trucks? Like I said, town hall parking lot is full. Right now it's full with no visitors and no nothing.
Well, because we put that concrete pad in there that hasn't put a building on it yet.
Again, that's temporary. Where are we going to put the equipment permanently?
I know.
Okay, so listen, we're getting detracted from the, there's a distraction here. So
Stacy, again, I never interrupt.
No, it's okay.
I want to make sure that if Councilman Casio or Mr. DeSena or Councilman DeSena, sorry, have any questions, because we need one of their 2 votes, I believe, to submit a valid offer. And so I just want to make sure that all their questions are answered so they can make the best informed vote that they can about this.
So play the facts out. So it's a board that's split half council, half mayor. I don't think anybody has an issue with that. I think that's perfectly reasonable. Okay. I don't know if you can not say automatically. I think if you put the request for applications for a board out there, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Power, you can't tell someone not to apply.
Yeah, I think that might be a problem.
Well, I want new faces. That was the comment.
Well, then don't appoint them.
What's
right.
that?
Then don't appoint them.
Yeah. My other question is
wait. I wasn't quite.
I had one more thing for the mayor. That's why I wanted to just get it, because he asked me if there was any other.
Well, I'm trying. Every time we could go further with the conversation, there's another stipulation. So
no more stipulations.
Okay.
Since the pool board is going to look at all the offers, including all the commercial and other offers from their real estate MIS listing, right? Wouldn't it make more sense to offer them the full $1 million as our offer? Because that way we would be more, because what happens if we're not, if they there's better offers, and so I'm saying, why go in with this 600, 400? Tell them it's $1 million, but no pool, and then it's a better offer for them.
Mike, it's not a better offer. I just want to throw in just legally from the point of view. I mean, developers are going to offer more than $1 million, and the bottom line is, I don't think they're selling it to the town to get the $1 million alone. They're selling it to the town to operate a pool or have the town operate a pool. That is the quid pro quo for them considering the town being a purchaser of the property. I am sure, and I can't swear by it, but developers would beat the $1 million for 6 acres of that property. So,
Correct.
By throwing out $1 million, you're not doing anything, I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, according to the realtors that spoke before, they're saying that if it was more than that, the property wouldn't be viable. So
the thing too is, but the board is saying in the offer, and the board told us this, that if we go with this, with the 2 years of operation, this is what they want. And this is what and keep in mind that these board members are residents, right? And they wanted to operate as a swim club for the 2 years to see if it's viable. That's the part of the offer, like Mr. Power said. That's a really good fact. It's not just, what's nice about what's going on here is that they wanted to stay. They want the town and the residents to have the 6 acres. They're telling us that. They're not telling us it's not about the money, which is what we should be saying. It's not about the money, it's preserving the town.
Well, again, if I can jump in, because it's not, for them, it's not just about the 6 acres. They want to see it stay as a swim club, but they understand that the town can't take it on and take a loss forever. Hence the 2-year agreement that if everyone's in good faith and we show it cannot break even in 2 yease, that we're under no further obligation. So that's the driving force for them. Is they really want to see it stay as a swim club, and since they own it, they can kind of set the terms. And I for one think the terms are extremely good, even if the swim club unfortunately would not survive the 2 years. where else are you going to get 6 acres for $1 million that, has so many potential uses for, generations of residents?
Mr. Mayor, would you be amenable that if, let's just say in 2022, they only get to 100 members again, which I hope they don't, whatever the operating expenses are come out of the 400,000 and not the taxpayers?
No, I mean, to the extent that I have a say in it, I would not be.
Well, you do. You're going to control the budget. So, I mean,
No, I don't control the budget. I hand it to council. Council has more control of it than I do.
Only wish. But,
No, but that's a good point. I mean, the thing is that the agreement is for 2 years. Again, that's another, we talked about stipulations. We're not in control of.
But we are. It's our property. We are in control.
No, it's not our property yet.
No, but I'm saying whatever this council agrees to is our property after we agree to this and they accept it. It's not what the.
You have to ask Mr. Power then if it's in the agreement.
It's what our utility board
we're
wants.
Required to operate it. It's for 2 years.
It's going to be part of the sale agreement.
Right.
And it would not go to subsidize operating costs. They want the 400 to go into capital improvements. And
we know that they need the capital. They need the capital to make those improvements. They need all 400,000. You said that yourself, Mike. So they're going to use that.
They need
more.
Try
to keep it viable. But all right, so we're going to beat ourselves into the wall over and over and over. I mean, we're going roundabout. And we're saying the same things. Either you're in or you're out. But
I need some kind of guarantee that we're not.
Nothing more we can. There's nothing more
I need some kind of thing that we're not going to dump another $250,000 into this thing.
Okay, so here's
what you have on it at this point.
What that? I didn't hear what you said, Steve.
I'll make a motion to take a vote.
On what?
I'll second your
I'll
motion.
second it.
No, just the way it is. Apparently the stipulations are already there with the board. It's not a fluid situation, right? Because we did ask the mayor. Or mayor got 3 votes to go back and negotiate. And I understand you can't really go back and negotiate if the money's not on the table. So let's see where the money is.
Well,
make a motion to take a vote.
It is fluid, Steve. It is fluid. The mayor did say that he could bring back the fact that he would put council on the board. He did. He took my suggestions and said, "Okay, I'll meet you there." Okay, but did you hear what I just said? What you said was incorrect. Well, I'm not seconding it, so I don't.
Well, don't second it.
So wait. Okay, so just wait 1 second. Okay, Steve, could you so you're proposing a vote to vote on the 600,000 for the land acquisition and the 400,000 for the capital improvements as the mayor has requested.
That is correct. That is that's on the table. That's my motion.
Okay, Desiree. Okay, so we can. Do you have any questions to Steve about that or the mayor for that piece exactly?
Do I have any questions?
Does this include?
No, Desiree.
I have a question.
Yeah. Sorry.
Does this include the fact that Mike had some questions for the mayor, and he said that he had no problem if this would make Mr. DeSena vote yes for the property, that he would agree to put council on the board, the pool board.
No, not council. Desiree, not council, but appoint. So the board for the pool utility would be appointed half by council, half by the mayor.
No, the original.
Council would have input into appointing people onto the board.
Right.
Yes.
That's what you're agreeing, right? You've agreed to that.
Yes.
And that the 400,000 is utilized. So once we buy this, that 400,000, whatever this utility board decides, is who's making the decision.
No, it has to come to council.
That doesn't work. That's not how it's set up.
No, that still has to come for approval.
Right.
No. Wait a minute. I just want to make this clear.
Michael, that's not what we're talking about right now, because that's not the motion. I'm going with the motion that was originally discussed off the bat.
No, but his question is his question is to the use of the 400,000. It's to your point. It's to your motion to vote. He's asking about the use of the 400,000.
I want the utility board to be in control of that 400,000. Not the swim club is defunct once this thing closes, Ken, right? The swim club technically becomes defunct, correct?
Let me try and focus this a little bit if I can. All right, just saying. Let's take a motion, and so I jotted down conditions that I think I've incorporated pretty much everything that could be in a motion. So
okay.
if you want, and if it's not a good thing, but this is a possible motion. It's only a possible motion, but here's what I was gonna say. Okay. So I worked on this a little bit before. Motion to authorize the acquisition of lands and buildings located on Lot 1 in Block 2301 and Lot 101 in Block 2401 as may be necessary and suitable for the performance of the township's functions and the conduct of public business to preserve open space on the following conditions. All right. 1, purchase price of $1 million, allocated $600,000 in cash purchase price to the property owner and $400,000 in capital improvements to be contributed by the township. Okay. Now, this is not given to the swim club, by the way. But it is a commitment to spend $400,000. Okay.
All right.
2, the payment of all mortgages and other liens on the property and the discharge of record of all such mortgages and other liens. The conveyance of good and marketable title to the real property. Confirmation of all legal and funding requirements for the transaction, including a commitment for bonding of the purchase price. The formation and implementation of a township utility to address operation and functioning of pool facilities open to the township residents at least for 2 years. So you'll decide whether it's profitable, not profitable, should continue or not should continue. Obviously, the utility, I just threw this extra one in, the utility commission or board or organization to be comprised of individuals, half of which will be appointed by the council and half of which will be appointed by the mayor. That's, I think, what you wanted, Mike. And then
right.
What happened? What?
And that they will have full say of how the $400,000 is spent.
It'll have to come to the town for approval, won't it?
Yeah, no. But I'm saying they will make that utility board.
But the $400,000 is for capital improvements.
Which the utility board will decide.
They have to put in $400,000 in capital improvements. The swim club's not going to go with this deal if you say we may or may not spend $400,000.
No. I'm not saying we may or I'm saying we spend the $400,000, but those $400,000 in capital improvements are to be determined by the Township of Washington Pool Utility Board.
Yes.
Not the existing board that's going to be defunct.
Yes.
Correct.
All right, it's the new board.
The new
Correct.
board.
The new board, Mrs. Sears.
New board.
The utility board. Okay. And then just two other conditions which I would put in. Okay, go ahead. You want to add something?
Yeah, please, because it's about this. Would the utility board have complete control, or would they make recommendations to the government?
Make recommendations to the council.
There's a difference there in complete control or recommendations. Because I was curious about.
So it's an advisory board?
Yes.
Mr. Pollard?
Well, I have to check into that, I'll tell you the truth.
There's a difference, as you know, between advisory and.
I do have to check that out. I can't tell you today as we're sitting here right now.
I understand. That's something that's got to be thoroughly researched, I guess.
Yep. But it definitely would be on the township side versus the side of the people who are running the pool.
Right. Correct. Yes.
And is concerned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anything else, Mr. Mayor, before I get to
that was it. Thank you.
And the two other conditions are the negotiation and execution of definitive agreement for the sale and purchase of the real property and improvements, including all ancillary agreements and documents, and such other conditions as may be required by law. So that's the most.
Are we getting a full phase one before we close, Mr. Pollard?
Of course.
That's standard.
Well, obviously, when I say a definitive agreement, there's a lot of things I put in there: a title search, surveys, environmental. This is. I mean, a lot of things would go into the agreement.
This is, crazy things happen. I just want to put it on the record that that's part of it. That's all.
That's fine. Matter of fact, I'm waiting for the environmental report on 450 Pascack Road.
So, Mr. Poller, I have a question. I know, like in the other towns where they have utility boards, they are the final say, and it doesn't come to the council or the mayor. They have their own budget. They basically come in as a department with their own budget, and they spend the money as they see fit. So that's what concerns me about who has control. Is it an advisory board? Because if it's a commission or a utility, they have full control then.
Okay, what I'm saying to you is I don't know that that's exclusively the only way it can be done. It may be done that way. There may be other alternatives that they do it in conjunction with the council. I can't tell you right now. I'm not sitting with research to take a look at, what's available and what could be.
Wouldn't it be?
We do things a lot of ways. Other towns do things differently. So there may be, differences in how you do it. But the important point is that it's the township side that gets to determine the expenditure for capital improvements, whether it's the utility board by itself, whether it's the utility board in conjunction with the council. That is what I'm saying when I say immaterial.
Wouldn't it come to us the same way that the fire department and the police, they would submit the budget, they would have, yes, it would. They would act like.
Casey, let's not get into areas that nobody knows what they're talking about. This is not a department, it's a utility. So it's different. And what I'm saying to you is that we.
So that's why I'm asking. That's why I said, wouldn't it come to us? If it's no, then it's no. I'm not assuming.
Not necessarily so, because you're characterizing it as a department, and it's not a department. And so
it's a utility.
What I'm saying to you is that it's a different entity, but I don't know what the exhaustive list of the ways that the utility can operate, whether it has to be totally autonomous, whether it has to, be in conjunction with the governing body. I can't answer those questions now. All I can say, not answer, but is addressing Mike's concern of it's the township that determines, how the capital expenditures are spent, and not the swim club board who we would buy from, because as correctly stated, once we have it, we have it. We just have the commitment to spend the capital improvements.
Can I ask you, Mike, would one way or the other persuade you to vote?
I would want Mr. Pollard to set it up in a way that they would make recommendations for the council, to make a financial.
Like an advisory board.
It would be an advisory board. I don't know how, whether it's I don't want them to have complete autonomy that, that they're, like I know a lot of towns, they're basically given $1 million and all right, 680 comes back in memberships, and the other 400 is our capital expense, and they do whatever they want with it without the council's permission. They don't need it because they're a board or utility. I don't want that to be the case here. I want it to come back to the council so the council can make sure that somebody's not running rogue on this board and doing what they want. That's all.
Of course, here's the thing too. I mean, the utility operation is not something even the swim club as a seller is even interested in. All they're going to say is the township. They're not interested in whether it's the board or the council. So we kind of have free reign to try and orchestrate it in the manner that works for you people.
All right. Well, that's a good idea.
Right. So
yeah.
I mean,
is everybody okay that it has to come back to the council? They're an advisory, like Desiree just said, and we need to bring it back to the council.
I'm okay with that.
Mr. Pollard, okay?
I'm okay with it.
Just say, don't use the word advisory. I don't know whether advisory is the word to use. Right. Utility. What I'm saying,
whatever it is, yeah.
There's a way to structure the operation of the utility, which involves the council making the decision. Yes, you could do that.
Mr. Chovo, you wanted, I'm sorry, Mr. Chovo.
If that's permissible. I just have to find out what the alternatives are and bring it back to you.
Mr. Chovo, you had a comment?
Yeah, I don't want to preempt Mr. Pollard's research into this, but in my experience, they're typically set up as advisory boards. That way they're automatically compelled to go back to council for approval on expenditure. So I just want to keep that in mind, but Ken may find something else, but that's been my experience.
I agree. I think that's the way it should go. I mean, it needs some oversight.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, so
So that would be,
I think
that
we're
would
all
be
in
the
agreement
motion.
with
That
that.
would be the
I'm
motion.
okay with that. I'm okay with that. And I just thought of something. And evenly split between the mayor and council is not a good thing, because then there could be a tie vote on things. But they're just an advisory board, so it won't matter.
You know what you could do as an alternative is it could be appointed by the mayor, subject to the advice and consent of the council.
No, absolutely not.
Okay, just throwing it out. Okay.
Because then we have holdovers, Mr. Pollard.
No, you don't have holdovers. They're not directors. We could make it that there aren't the terms.
No, I like the idea of half by the council and half by the mayor.
It's okay.
Well, in order to get it, Mr. Pollard's got a point with the voting. It could be half council, half mayor, and then someone who's we need a tiebreaker. You have to have a tiebreaker.
Well, you could structure it where someone is designated as the chairman, and that person maybe is given the authority to break a tie vote or something.
So it's just something to keep in mind.
There's no. I think if you work that into the situation,
Right? Exactly.
Okay. Those are kind of very,
Okay, let's clarify the vote again. Could you clarify it again with everything that was just discussed? And then we can go from there, just so everybody is aware and there's nobody can say that they misunderstood.
You want me to read this again?
Yeah. And then I'll owe you a cocktail at some point.
Hey. All right, let's see here. Let me just write this one thing down here. Utility, similar. 3, 4.
Can we have the abridged version?
I'm going to give you the points, okay? Hey, Desiree, I got to listen to all you people. Okay. Purchase price of $1 million, allocated $600,000 in cash purchase price to the property owner and $400,000 in capital improvements to be contributed by the township. Payment in full of all mortgages and other liens on the real property and the discharge of record of all such mortgages and other liens. 3, the conveyance of good and marketable title to the real property. 4, confirmation of all legal and funding requirements for the transaction, including a commitment for bonding of the purchase price. That's the total $1 million. 5, the formation and implementation of a township utility to address operation and functioning of pool facilities open to township residents for a period of at least 2 years. The utility to be formed would be advisory in nature if possible, so that the council would be making final decisions of actual expenditures, and the membership of the utility would be made evenly between the council and the mayor, with someone designated to break tie votes. Okay. The negotiation and execution of definitive agreement for the sale and purchase of the real property and improvements, including all ancillary agreements and documents, and such other conditions as may be required by law. That's the motion. To authorize that offer to go forward with that commitment.
Okay, I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Well, I think Steve made a motion first, so.
No. Steve really didn't make a motion. He was trying to make a motion. Steve, are you withdrawing your motion? And in lieu of this motion?
Sure. Why not? I just don't want to hear Ken read another thing. That's it. I think it's done enough. I'll withdraw the motion at this point.
Thank you very much. So I'm sorry, but I did not forget to say that.
Okay,
so we have
Desiree motioned.
Who seconded?
Councilman Sears, second.
Thank you.
Oh, sure.
Don't you want to read it again?
No.
Roll call? No.
Roll call. Sorry.
Yeah, roll call.
I just want to make sure there's nothing else going to happen. Councilman Casio.
No.
Councilman DeSena. That's not a vote.
I gotta give me a minute. I got time. I gotta contemplate all my pros and cons going through my head right now. I'm really not in favor of running a pool, but if that's what it's got to be for 2 years, I'll vote yes.
Councilwoman Morgan,
Yeah.
Councilman Sears,
Yes.
Council President Feeney.
Yes.
Can we go home?
Yeah, 4 votes. Okay.
But Ken, write it up.
4 votes and a commitment among that for bonding. Okay.
Great.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Good dialogue.
Yes, for a productive meeting to get all of our questions answered. Thank you to the residents who joined us on Zoom and sent the various, I think I'm up to 50 or 60 emails. Thank you to all the council members, Councilman Casio, Councilman DeSena, Councilman Seals, Vice President Morgan. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Power, for your input. I am very happy that we can move forward on this together as council and administration. It's really a positive way that we are moving forward. So it is now 10:22, calling for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And we will be back in chambers.
All in favor?
Well, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Have a very good evening.
You too.
Thank you.